Chapter 723. Inside the Hyuga clan's prison. Sitting in a wheelchair, Hyuga Aoki looked up at the bright full moon hanging high in the night sky and sighed faintly. Sigh. I really can't become a guard dog like Hyojin said. This sigh was filled with a kind of compromise towards fate. He has been angry, resentful, and hesitant, but at this time, all these emotions can't be found on his face. His expression is as calm as water, as if he has accepted his fate. At this time, he couldn't help but recall the battle that changed his life. It was during the Third Shinobi War. He and his younger brother Hyuga Aoki rushed to the front line of the fierce battle against the Mist Village as the personal guards of a member of the Hyuga clan. According to common sense, the members of the Hyuga clan don't have to go to the front line in person. This time, going to the front line is just a formality, and after a while, they will be transferred back to the village. So whether it is him or his younger brother Aoki, they felt that there would be no major problems in this trip. But they didn't think that the information would be leaked. The Mist Village somehow learned their route and intercepted them on their way to the front line. After a fierce battle, his legs were injured, the bones of his knees were completely broken, and his Achilles tendon and other soft tissues were also damaged to varying degrees, completely losing the ability to walk. And this is not the key to his tragic fate. The most important thing is that the member of the Hyuga clan they were protecting had a Byakuga taken away by the Mist Village on the battlefield. The Byakuga being taken away is a scandal that hasn't happened for many years, and for the Hyuga clan, this is undoubtedly a great shame. So the Hyuga clan was furious. As the personal guards of the Hyuga clan at that time, Aoki and Aoki naturally bore the brunt of this anger. Aoki was fine. After all, his legs were broken in the battle, so he was only put in prison, but Aoki, who was stronger, because he didn't suffer any injuries, instead he suffered more anger from the Hyuga clan and became the first person responsible for the loss of the Byakuga, and also became one of the few members of the branch family to be executed by the Hyuga clan in recent decades. His younger brother Qingye had been executed by the ancestral clan, causing Qingmu's mental state to crumble. He sank into boundless rage. From his perspective, the two of them had already done their best. The reason why the white eye had been snatched away was because the descendant of the ancestral clan lacked experience in life and death battles. Not only that, their movements had been leaked. The responsibility shouldn't be shouldered entirely by the two of them. Because of this, Greenwood's heart sank into a quagmire of vengeance. The person who colluded with Kyumo village, kidnapped Hinata, and tried to use the hands of Kyumo and Konoha to get rid of the head of his own family was none other than Hyuga Aoki, who was bent on revenge. After his plan was foiled by the River Lord of God, Greenwood didn't give up. After meticulous planning, he found another heaven-sent opportunity and raided the secret storehouse of the Zone clan. Not only did he personally kill an elder of the Zone clan and obtain a pair of Byakugan, he even learned of a heavenly secret from the secret storehouse. It was this secret that caused Greenwood to fall into a state of confusion. Through the fragments hidden in the ancient books of the clan's secret vault, he not only discovered a mysterious map, but he also learned of a piece of history that was intentionally concealed by the clan. He learned that the original intention of the clan to develop the caged bird was not to enslave the branch family, but to protect the entire clan. Just like Hyojin, after learning this, his resentment towards the caged bird lessened a lot, and at the same time, his hatred towards the Zone clan also subsided a lot. In addition, when he raided the secret storehouse of the Zone clan, he had already killed an elder of the Zone clan, which could be considered as revenge for his younger brother Qingye. So in the past 2 years, he has put aside his hatred and worked hard to integrate into the family. This change, even Patriarch Hayashi noticed. Many of the clansmen found that Greenwood had become a lot more cheerful in the past 2 years, and had also begun to interact with people. And this is also the reason why Hyojin has been secretly paying attention to the Zone clan, looking for the traitor, but has been unable to find anything, because during this period of time, Hyuga Aoki has done nothing but secretly collecting ancient books. But mistakes often occur when one is lax. Kuroto Aoki hadn't expected that his casual conversation will be caught red-handed by the elder of his own clan. Originally, this wasn't a big deal, But after being reprimanded by the elder, he discovered that unknowingly, he had already been deeply influenced by Kuroto. He was no longer able to calmly endure the scolding and humiliation of others like before. Just as he had lamented, he really couldn't be a guard dog. At this time, a sound of footsteps came from the corridor of the prison, and not long after, Richa came to Aoki's cell and said through the iron bars, "You are too reckless today." Hyuga Aoki in the wheelchair was silent. Hizashi-sama sighed and said, "You don't have to worry too much. In a few days when things calm down, I will plead with the Patriarch to exempt you from 3 years of imprisonment. The Patriarch is also aware of your situation. He won't make things too difficult for you." Hyuga Aoki sneered, "Just because I'm a cripple?" Richa opened his mouth, but didn't know how to explain, because he was indeed going to plead with Hayashi on behalf of Aoki with the excuse of being crippled. Hyuga Aoki looked at Richa at this time. "Richa, do you hate the Zone Clan? Obviously you are brothers. One became the Patriarch, and the other became a prisoner of the caged bird. You should hate the Zone Clan, right?" Richa frowned and said, "What's the use of saying this now? Don't let your imagination run wild." Hyuga Aoki said in a tone full of pity, "Your efforts, Ningxi's efforts, and even Hyojin's efforts are in vain. In the caged bird, everything is an illusion. You can't change anything. Even Hyojin is the same. We are all prisoners." Richa's brows furrowed more and more tightly. "What are you trying to say?" Hyuga Aoki said calmly, "I have tried my best, but I can't become a person like you, so I accept my fate." Fearing that Aoki would make any more trouble, Richa breathed a sigh of relief and persuaded, "Don't say anything about accepting your fate. The most important thing is to live." Hyuga Aoki moved his gaze to the window, looked at the moon in the night sky, and said, "It's a pity. They should have killed me. I obviously gave them a chance." During the day, Hyuga Aoki didn't beg for mercy under the ravages of the caged bird curse seal. It was the last hesitation in his heart. From the perspective of others, his stubbornness was a manifestation of his unhappiness towards the Zone Clan. But in reality, only he himself knew that his stubbornness back then was the final thought he had for the Zone Clan. It was also a final chance for the Zone Clan to kill him. Looking at Hyuga Aoki in the wheelchair in front of him, Richa suddenly had a bad premonition and quickly asked, "Aoki, what are you going to do?" Hyuga Aoki smiled and said, "What can a disabled person like me do?" Hyuga Aoki smiled and said, "First update." Chapter 724. As the storm of the battle between the giant summoning beasts gradually came to an end, the atmosphere in the ninja school gradually returned to what it was before the actual combat exercise. Whether it was Naruto, Sasuke, or Ningxi, the 3 students who already have giant summoning beasts, or those who don't have giant summoning beasts, they temporarily suppressed their desire for giant summoning beasts, put away their thoughts, and focused on training. Standing in front of the window of the headmaster's office, looking at the students who were running in circles on the field, Hyojin couldn't help but slightly raise the corner of his mouth. Today's students, except for a few, almost all of them have mastered the most basic 3 bodies technique, and their physical strength and chakra control have also made significant progress. Among them, the excellent students have even begun to learn battlefield tracking, camouflage escape, stealth assassination, and other advanced subjects. One must know that in the original world, Mai's ninja school didn't test the most basic 3 bodies technique until graduation, so combat was impossible to talk about. Except for the elite 12 roaches, almost all the other students are cannon fodder that can't even be considered as qualified genin. When they go to the battlefield, they can only explore the way and consume the enemy's ninja tools and chakra. This is also the reason why, although Hyojin makes 1 or 2 big news from time to time, 3 generations has been tolerating him, because the rapid progress of the students has been seen by everyone in the village. At this time, Jishuei came to the headmaster's office and reported to Hyojin, "Kuroto-san, Shuemu did not obey your transfer order." Hyojin frowned. Transferring Shuemu out of the ninja school was not Hyojin's idea, but 3 generations Naruto's idea. Because in the last actual combat exercise, Shuemu, as a member of the teacher group, encountered the Jonin group disguised as members of the Akatsuki organization. He was afraid of death and wanted to abandon the students and escape alone, making 3 generations Naruto extremely embarrassed in front of the other 4 Kage. Therefore, 3 generations Naruto signaled Hyojin to transfer Mizuki out of the ninja school after the actual combat drill. Hyojin didn't care too much about this matter. He took the time to sign a transfer order, but he didn't expect that Shueimu would dare to disobey his transfer order and refuse to leave the ninja school. Shursui took another step forward and lowered his voice. I've received a message from the clan's police force. Yesterday, Shueimu met with an ancestral elder of your clan in private. Oh. Hyojin raised his eyebrows and asked casually, why are they meeting? Jishui shook his head. I don't know what they talked about. I only know that they talked for about 15 minutes and then left. The police force of the Uchiha clan is responsible for the security of the Mai village, so they can openly place various informants in the village. However, because the elder of the Hyuga clan and Shueimu who works in the ninja school are not ordinary people, the Uchiha clan members who discovered their secret meeting did not eavesdrop on their conversation. After thinking for a while, Hyojin ordered, arrange someone to keep an eye on them. Jishui nodded and said, well, I will arrange it now. Since the last time Hyojin dealt with several elders of the Hyuga clan, the situation in the Hyuga clan has become very delicate. Although the Hyuga clan and the branch clan still maintain harmony on the surface, they have begun to separate in private. Through Richa, Hyojin also learned that some people of the Hyuga clan are trying to deal with him. However, in the process of Hyojin's growth, the Hyuga clan has given him a lot of shelter and help. Even the annoying elders of the Hyuga clan didn't cause him much trouble, so he will not make a move against the Hyuga clan first. But if the Hyuga clan doesn't care about face, then they can't blame him. In fact, for these trivial things, Hyojin doesn't care much. Ever since he had gotten rid of the caged bird curse, the only thing that the Zong family could restrain him was his emotions, not his physical strength. Therefore, no matter what kind of agreement the Zong family had made with Shueimu, or what kind of conspiracy they had, to him, it was just a trivial matter. On the contrary, if the Hyuga clan really does something that can't be shown in public, he can use this as an excuse to clean up the Hyuga clan and take control of the Hyuga clan at the lowest cost. At night, after returning home, Hyojin, as usual, started to study the improvement of the In seal. After a period of research, he had more or less figured out the way to improve the In seal. Tonight, all he needed to do was to edit and organize the manuscripts, and the next thing he needed to do was to try it out. However, the In seal did not only involve all the meridians in the body, but the sealing area of chakra was also the most sensitive and vulnerable part of the human body, the brain. Therefore, no matter how confident Hyojin was in his sealing technique, he didn't dare to try to improve the In seal on his In body, because if something went wrong, it might directly damage the In body's brain. If this kind of thing falls on someone else, it may be a choice between life and death, but for Kuroto, it's not a big deal. After all, he still has a total of 10 Earth clones that he can use in the laboratory of the Sky Fortress. Even if he doesn't count the Earth clone number 2 that he has already developed, there are still 9 more for him to play with. After sorting out the improvement plan, the next morning, Hyojin left a shadow clone and quietly left the village, and came to the air fortress that was moving irregularly on the sea. After arriving at the air fortress, Hyojin didn't go straight to the laboratory, but called Xianglin, who had transplanted the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, and asked, how do you feel recently? Is there anything wrong with the transplanted Sharingan? Xianglin hesitated for a moment and said, my lord, I always feel that there is something wrong with this pair of eyes. Hyojin asked, what's wrong? I don't know how to describe it. It seems like Xianglin racked his brains for a long time, but was unable to come up with a reason. Hyojin smiled and said, do you feel like it's alive and has its own will? Xianglin nodded quickly. Yes, that's right. After pondering for a while, Hyojin explained, there are 2 main reasons for this situation. First, you're not the original owner of this pair of Sharingan, so it will have a certain degree of rejection towards you. Second, its pupil power is very strong, and it is very close to the Rinnegan that is known as the Eye of the Immortals. As he said that, Hyojin stepped forward and checked the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan in Xianglin's eye sockets. Xianglin can feel the difference in the eyes, which undoubtedly means that the pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan has almost recovered, and it has the ability to affect the host again. However, according to Hyojin's prediction, it will take at least 3 months for this pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan to recover, and now it has only been less than a month since the transplant. Second update. Chapter 725. It's really strange. Staring at the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan in Xianglin's eye sockets, Hyojin gradually frowned and whispered. Xianglin asked nervously, "Sama, what's wrong? Is there something wrong with my eyes?" Hyojin didn't explain and was still thinking. In the battle to kill Danzo, the pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan in Xianglin's eye sockets was only one step away from evolving into Rinnegan. At that time, if Hyojin's action was delayed by 1 or 2 breaths, a new pair of Rinnegan might have been born in the shinobi world. Therefore, being forcibly interrupted at the critical moment of evolution is undoubtedly the heaviest blow to the pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. Fortunately, this is a pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan that can restore the pupillary power on its own. If it was replaced by an ordinary pair of Manjikyu Sharingan, it would have most likely been directly destroyed. But even so, Hyojin estimated that this pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan would need at least 3 months of nourishment to gradually restore the huge amount of pupillary power consumed in the evolution, and this is already a very optimistic estimate of Hyojin. Before transplantation, he was even prepared to nourish them for 6 months or more. But Kuroto didn't expect that in less than a month, the pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan showed signs of recovery, and it even began to exert its influence on the host Xianglin. It seems that Xianglin's physique is much stronger than I expected before. After ruling out other possibilities in his mind one by one, Hyojin could only attribute this result to the special physique of the Uzumaki clan. At this time, he also faintly understood why Madara Uchiha chose Nagato as the tool to store his Rinnegan instead of the more famous Senzu clan. Seeing Hyojin being silent for a long time, Xianglin became more nervous. "Sama, what did you find? Is there something wrong with my eyes?" Hyojin smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'm just thinking about something." Xianglin asked carefully, "Is there anything wrong with my eyes?" "If you insist on it, I'm afraid there really are some problems." Without waiting for Xianglin to ask, Hyojin immediately explained, "Your physique is stronger than I expected, so it recovered faster than I expected." Xianglin inherited her mother's super healing physique, and the effects of her healing and recovery were too strong. In this aspect alone, perhaps even Nagato of the same race could not compare to her. Xianglin was puzzled. "It doesn't sound like a bad thing, does it?" Hyojin gently nodded. "Of course it's not a bad thing, but this pair of Sharingan is a bit dishonest. I'm afraid it will affect you." Xianglin was taken aback. Not honest." Hyojin smiled and did not explain further to Xiang. The pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan transplanted to Xianglin was not obtained in the regular way. It should be regarded as a byproduct of the Kekkei fusion ritual. Because of this, it has integrated the obsession of almost all the Kekkei Genkai ninjas who participated in the Kekkei fusion ritual, including the obsession of Danzo. So although its pupil power is extremely strong, it is not as pure as the orthodox Manjikyu Sharingan. Therefore, with the current strength of Xianglin, it may be difficult to control this pair of dishonest eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. Moreover, because of Xianglin's special physique, Hyojin suddenly found that the Rinnegan synthesis schedule he had previously set seems to be no longer applicable. It seems that it won't be long before the synthesis of the Rinnegan can be carried out. Previously, Hyojin felt that with the recovery speed of the 2 pairs of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, the synthesis of the Rinnegan would take at least 8 or 9 months. So he hasn't made a detailed plan for the synthesis of the Rinnegan yet, but with the unexpected recovery speed of the pair of Manjikyu Sharingan in Xianglin's eye sockets, he feels that it is necessary to immediately make a plan for the synthesis of the Rinnegan. Thinking of this, Hyojin moved his gaze to Xianglin in front of him. At present, Hyojin knows that there are two ways to synthesize the Rinnegan. The first method is the one used by Danzo, which is to use the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan of Danzo to directly absorb the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan of the Fire Release clone, in order to complete the evolution of the Rinnegan. The second method is the traditional transplantation method, which is to select a huge chakra ninja as a hotbed for the synthesis, then transplant the two pairs of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan together, and after 2 or 3 months, or even longer, let the two pairs of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan instinctively fuse together, thus obtaining a pair of Rinnegan. In contrast, the first method is naturally more time-saving. But if the first method is adopted, it is equivalent to using the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan of Danzo as the foundation, and what kind of mutation will occur in the Rinnegan obtained in the future, even Hyojin can't predict. But if the second method is adopted, although it is time-consuming and laborious, he can choose to use the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan of Fire Release clone as the foundation to ensure that the Rinnegan obtained won't have any unexpected mutation. After a while, Hyojin made a choice. Spending a few more months or a few months less doesn't have much impact on the current Hyojin. Hyojin doesn't need to wait to use the Rinnegan. What he needs is an insurance measure in case he accidentally flips over, so the more traditional and safer second method is the best choice for him. Moreover, from an emotional point of view, he doesn't want the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan of Danzo to absorb his eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. Xianglin was a little scared after being stared at by Hyojin. She asked weakly, "My lord, what happened?" Hyojin smiled and rubbed Xianglin's head. "I'm afraid I have to do another eye transplant surgery with you. Your current pair of Sharingan is a bit evil, and it is likely to affect your mind. Moreover, I still have a pair of Sharingan, and I need your special physique to speed up the recovery of its pupil power." Xianglin nodded quickly. "No problem." After the previous transplant surgery, Xianglin knew that the eye transplant surgery is just a trivial surgery for Hyojin, and it can be completed in less than a quarter of an hour. What's more, she has always hoped that she can do something for Hyojin. Hyojin didn't say anything more. He directly took out the Fire Release clone from the large nutrition tank and removed the pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan from the eye sockets of the Fire Release clone. After a slight inspection, it was just as he expected. The recovery speed of this pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan on the Fire Release clone is very slow compared to the pair on Xianglin's body. It's like heaven and earth. First, I'm asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Chapter 726. In less than a quarter of an hour, Hyojin completed the eye transplant surgery. He transplanted the eternal Manjikyu Sharingan from the Fire Release clone into Xianglin's eye socket and put the Danzo's eternal Manjikyu Sharingan into a small nutrition tank. After packing up the surgical instruments, Hyojin asked Xianglin, "How do you feel?" Xianglin carefully observed for a while and said, "There doesn't seem to be any special feeling." Hyojin nodded. "Well, there is no special feeling. This pair of Sharingan, just like the pair of Sharingan I transplanted for you before, is dormant because of the exhaustion of the pupillary power, so it should be similar to an ordinary eye now, but its insight will be stronger than an ordinary eye." Xianglin asked curiously, "Sama, can I ask you a question?" "Go ahead," Hyojin said, while placing the small nutrition tank containing the Danzo's eternal Manjikyu Sharingan on a large detection instrument. This pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan is very strange. Hyojin felt that it was necessary to conduct a comprehensive test on it. Xianglin said, "You transplanted my eyes not just to speed up the recovery of the pupillary power of this pair of Sharingan, right?" Hyojin was startled for a moment and immediately stopped the work in his hand. Very sharp. Since the synthesis of the Rinnegan has been put on the agenda, he no longer hid it from Xianglin and said, "This time I transplanted your eyes, in fact, is to prepare for the next step of the synthesis of the Rinnegan." "Rinnegan?" Hyojin gently nodded. "Well, it's the Rinnegan." After saying that, Hyojin introduced the synthesis method of the Rinnegan to Xianglin in detail, and finally emphasized the hotbed of the synthesis of the Rinnegan must be a ninja with a huge chakra, and did his best to be a ninja with a powerful yang release chakra, and the only one who meets this condition is you. Xianglin was silent for a while, and then asked, Sama, this pair of Rinnegan must be very important to you, right? After receiving Hyojin's affirmation, Xianglin hurriedly nodded. Please rest assured, I will definitely complete this pair of Rinnegan eyes for you and hand it to you, definitely. Xianglin was not as naive as she looked. After experiencing the hardships of the Kusinabu village, her mind had actually matured a lot, so she understood that the immortals that Hyojin had painstakingly obtained must have other more important uses. It was not as simple as a gift to her. Therefore, she decided that she would try her best to synthesize the celestial eye for Hyojin and hand it over to Hyojin in perfect condition. Hyojin rubbed Xianglin's head and smiled. This pair of reincarnation eyes is not what I want to use. Xiangli was taken aback. After pondering for a while, Hyojin felt that it was time to tell Xianglin. The reason why the eye of samsara is called the immortal's eye is that it has the ability to reverse yin and yang and reverse life and death. And this is exactly the ability that I need. Reverse yin and yang, reverse life and death. Xianglin repeated Hyojin's words, still unable to recover from shock. Hyojin continued, in the near future, I am going to do a great thing related to life and death. And that thing is full of too many unknowns. Even I am not sure if I can survive. After experiencing the Danzo's Kekiai fusion ceremony, Hyojin was full of expectations for the Kekiai fusion ceremony, but at the same time, he also felt a trace of fear. According to the Danzo's Kekiai fusion ceremony, Hyojin made a vague division of the process of the Kekiai fusion ceremony, and according to his division, the final state of the Kekiai fusion ceremony can be roughly divided into 4 levels. The first level is the most basic Kekiai fusion ceremony, which both Hiriko and Danzo have completed. The second level is the Yin-Yang fusion ceremony, which gives birth to the Eye of Rinnegan. Hiriko didn't touch this part, but Danzo has already completed it, but because of Hyojin's interference, he missed the opportunity to obtain the Eye of Rinnegan. The third level is the initial fusion of the 7 chakra attributes. If completed, one can advance to the 6th path level and have the ability to control the truth-seeking ball. The fourth level is the complete fusion of the 7 chakra attributes. If completed, one can advance to the supreme level of Kekiai fusion ceremony, and the level of one's life will undergo a qualitative change, no longer affected by the corrosion of time, and have endless life. In the shinobi world, only 1.5 has touched upon this level. That one is naturally Kagaya, and the remaining half is the Sage of the 6 Paths, Otsutsuki Yuro. The reason why the Sage of the 6 Paths is only half is because the Sage of the 6 Paths once reached the level of Kekiai fusion ceremony, but later he pulled out the 10 tails from his body and divided them into 9-tailed beasts, and created a shinobi sect and shared his chakra with everyone. So his realm fell from the immortal Kekiai fusion ceremony to the peak of the 6 Paths level. But even the peak of the 6 Paths level can't escape death. So whether it's the Sage of the 6 Paths, Otsutsuki Yuro, or the Otsutsuki Himura who moved to the moon, they couldn't escape the corrosion of time and died on their beds. Although they have extremely strong chakra and their spiritual bodies still wander in the shinobi world, in the biological sense, they have indeed died of old age. Therefore, having endless life like Kagaya is the best standard to distinguish between the Kekiai fusion ceremony and the 6 Paths level. Just think about it. Even the Sage of the 6 Paths who founded the shinobi sect couldn't stabilize his realm of Kekiai fusion ceremony. So it can be seen how difficult it is to break through to Kekiai fusion ceremony. So far, even the most successful Danzo in the Kekiai fusion ceremony has only reached the 2nd of the 4 levels. So no matter how many factors Hyojin has considered and how much preparation he has made, the probability of failure is far greater than the probability of success. Xianglin asked worriedly, since it's so dangerous, can't you just do it? Hyojin smiled and said, that's what I'm after. Xianglin asked, then what can I do for you? Hyojin said calmly, if I fail, I need someone to use the Rinnegan to resurrect me. So this is the reversal of yin and yang, the reversal of life and death that you mentioned just now. Xiang Lin smiled and said without hesitation, My lord, leave this matter to me. Hyojin shook his head. Listen to me first. Even with the power of the Rinnegan, resurrecting a person is not without a price, and this price is the caster's own life. Are you willing to die for me? Xiang Lin hesitated for a moment, then said, I am willing. I'm asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Chapter 727. Looking at the expression on Xiang Lin's face, which gradually changed from hesitation to determination, Hyojin smiled. For him, it is very good that Xiang Lin has such a reaction. After all, the topic of death is a huge test for anyone, not to mention Xiang Lin is just a little girl about 10 years old. Xiang Lin seemed to be a little dissatisfied with her initial hesitation, and said eagerly, My lord, if it is to resurrect you, I am willing to sacrifice myself. Hyojin turned around and studied the pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan of Danzo, and said plainly, Don't rush to answer me. There is still time. You go back and think about it. Xiang Lin came to Hyojin and said, Don't think about it. No, you need to think about it. Interrupting Xiang Lin, Hyojin said, Believe me, only when you face death, you will know how terrible it is, so I don't need you to make a decision on the spur of the moment. Xiang Lin was stunned and immediately lowered her head. Hyojin operated the instrument and said lightly, You are just my best choice, not my only choice, so don't have too much psychological burden. Even if you don't agree, it will not have much impact on my plan. With the bloody lesson of Madara Uchiha, Hyojin will neither lie to Xiang Lin in this regard, nor will he force her. Because once he dies accidentally, no one under his command can control Xiang Lin who has mastered the Rinnegan. So as long as Xiang Lin is not voluntary, all coercion means are meaningless. For example, Madara Uchiha left two preparations. On the one hand, he used Ju to guide and monitor Nagato and Obsidian. On the other hand, he left a fatal charm on the heart of Obsidian to coerce Obsidian. This seems to be comprehensive, but in fact, it is ridiculous, and the facts have confirmed this point. Whether it is Nagato or Obsidian, they do not care about resurrecting him. After sending Xiang Lin away, Hyojin began to consider his backup candidates. But no matter how he thought about it, it seemed that only Xiang Lin was the most suitable. The others either couldn't control the eye of reincarnation, or their intimacy level wasn't high enough to be trusted. Shaking his head, Hyojin decided to temporarily put aside the matter of the backup candidate. As his strength increased and his understanding of the boundless nature's power deepened, Hyojin knew very well that the Eye of Samsara's reincarnation innate technique didn't have to be activated at the cost of the caster's life. In reality, the heavenly reincarnation technique was just a way to use the boundless nature power. As long as the caster was strong enough and had enough boundless nature power in their bodies, even if they used the heavenly reincarnation art to save someone, they might not necessarily die. This could be seen from how Immortal Six Paths had saved Naruto and Sasuke, as well as how Naruto had saved Guy, who had used his strongest body technique to open the 8th gate of death of the 8 inner hidden gates. In the original story, Nagato also destroyed the entire My Village, consumed a lot of chakra, and forcibly resurrected tens of thousands of my ninjas at one time, and finally died of exhaustion. If he only resurrected 1 or 2 people at that time, with the Uzumaki clan's strong vitality, he might not have died. And Xiang Lin's physique is even more terrifying than Nagato in this regard. So considering all aspects, Xiang Lin should be the only person around Hyojin who still has a chance of surviving after using the heavenly reincarnation innate technique. After putting Danzo's pair of eternal Manjikyu Sharingan into the machine, Hyojin did not waste time waiting for the test results to come out. Instead, he slowly walked to the large nutrition tank. Glancing at the 9 clones soaking in a row of large nutrition tanks, Hyojin thought for a moment and took out the first Earth Release clone. The Earth Escape clone number 2 that he had developed previously had barely touched the threshold of the Dust Escape. It had met all the requirements he had for the Earth Escape clone. Therefore, the remaining 9 Earth Escape clones had actually lost their role as substitutes. They could be used to test the effectiveness of his recent improvements on the Yin Seal. After putting the soul into the Earth Release clone number 1, Tenseigan jumped off the operating table and took a moment to adapt to his new body. After that, he took out the improved Yin Seal paper from the storage pouch on his waist and began the first attempt of the Yin Seal. Tenseigan then started the first attempt of using the Yin Seal according to the meridian diagram on the paper. Puff! A few moments later, Tenseigan suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. During the actual test, he found a small mistake in the improvement. Fortunately, he was using a clone. Otherwise, this mistake alone would have caused his own body to suffer a lot of damage. After panting for a while, he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and made some minor changes on the draft paper. He also recorded the mistakes he found after the actual test on the experimental record. After that, he did not care about the damage of the first Earth Release clone and began to try again. In the blink of an eye, 4 to 5 hours had passed. Tenseigan withdrew the spirit from the first Earth Release clone and returned to his own body. Then, he sighed as he wrote and drew on the draft paper. After 4 to 5 hours of torment, Tenseigan had corrected 1/3 of the contents on the draft paper. Although the efficiency is very high, the cost is also not small. For example, the first Earth Release clone in front of him was completely destroyed due to the severe damage to the meridians in its body. Looking at the damaged meridians of the first Earth Release clone, Tenseigan couldn't help but sigh. If I don't use the clone, then trying to improve the Yin Seal is simply playing with my life. After this experience, Tenseigan also somewhat understood why the Uzumaki clan has the highest attainment in Fuinjutsu in the shinobi world. Because only the Uzumaki clan, with their amazing vitality and huge chakra, is qualified to study Fuinjutsu. If it were someone else, they would lose their life in the process of developing Fuinjutsu, let alone studying Fuinjutsu. Thinking up to this point, Tenseigan sighed again. The destruction of the Uzumaki clan is really a disaster for the research and development of Fuinjutsu. It has been many years since the Uzumaki clan was annihilated, and since then, not only has the Fuinjutsu technology not improved, but it has also declined in a straight line. Orochimaru, who is one of the strongest people in the shinobi world with the ability to develop Fuinjutsu, can only learn from the ancient books left by the Uzumaki clan. After reorganizing the draft to improve the Yin Seal, Tenseigan took out the third Earth Release clone from the large nutrition tank and continued to revise the draft. In his opinion, a total of 9 high-quality clones should be enough for him to completely improve the Yin Seal. I'm asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Compared to before, the diamond-shaped mark between his eyebrows was much deeper, as if it wasn't just a line on his skin, but a faint purple gem embedded between his eyebrows. Gently stroking the diamond mark, Tenseigan thought to himself, the process of storing chakra is not sluggish at all. It seems that the improved design I made yesterday is feasible. Later, I'll try to use rough methods to store chakra and see if there are any accidents. After making up his mind, Tenseigan's spirit body returned to his own body and then made do with resting in the laboratory. He hadn't had a proper rest for a few days. In the blink of an eye, another week had passed. During this week, Tenseigan had used various methods to test the storage of chakra. In the end, it was proven that his design this time was safe and reliable. No matter how much he tossed and turned, there were no accidents. The sealed area of the brain was as stable as a fortress. In this way, the only thing Tenseigan needed to test was the release of the chakra stored in the sealed area. After taking a deep breath, Tenseigan held his breath and began to slowly form a seal. Then he shouted, "Ninjutsu 100 Heroes Technique." In an instant, black lines spread out on the diamond mark between his eyebrows. At the same time, he felt a surge of chakra being released from the sealed area between his eyebrows and filling his body. After feeling it carefully for a while, Hyojin said, "In terms of chakra's amount, it's almost the same as what I've been storing these days. Although there is some loss, it's within an acceptable range. It seems that the improvement this time is a success." At this moment, the corners of his mouth gradually curled into a smile. At this moment, Hyojin suddenly turned his head and subconsciously opened the Byakugan and looked into the distance. This was an inexplicable feeling of palpitation. It was as if something in the distance had touched his heartstrings and resonated with him. After being stunned for a while, he immediately reacted. He couldn't care less about the 100 Heroes technique that was being launched by the 9th Earth release clone. He immediately withdrew his spirit body and returned to the Een release body, and then instantly opened the Tenseigan on the moon. Otsutsuki Samurai gasped for breath while taking the towel handed by the puppet servant and wiped the sweat on his face. Today, he completed the training task in excess, or to be more precise, he completed the training task in excess almost every day. Since the last time he used the giant Tenseigan to control the meteorite to attack the shinobi world, a huge sense of crisis has shrouded his heart, so he didn't dare to relax even for a moment. He couldn't imagine that someone in the shinobi world could resist the meteorite attack launched by the giant Tenseigan. This simply subverted his previous understanding of the shinobi world. In the face of such a strong enemy, he knows that with his current strength, he can't complete the last wish of his ancestor to destroy the failed shinobi world and re-establish order. Therefore, he can only continue to strengthen his training and constantly improve his strength. As the last Otsutsuki on the moon, Tonari's talent even exceeds that of the prophecy's child Naruto, so under this almost crazy high-intensity training, his strength has increased rapidly. It's just that there is no one else on the moon now, and because he is afraid of the strong shinobi who controlled the Outer Path Demon statue to resist his meteorite attack last time, he didn't dare to use the giant Tenseigan to spy on the shinobi world. So, without any comparison and reference, he doesn't know how much his strength has improved. After throwing the towel to the puppet servant beside him, Tonari decided to continue his training, but just as he was about to get into position, he suddenly found that the giant Tenseigan moved again. "What's going on?" Shocked, Tonari's figure flashed and disappeared from the practice room. After a while, he hurried to the lookout where the giant Tenseigan is worshipped, and he found that the giant Tenseigan in the lookout resonated with him for some reason. How can this be? Why is there such a strong resonance? Driven by curiosity, Tonari temporarily lifted the seal of the giant Tenseigan, and then through the giant Tenseigan, he spied on the shinobi world that caused the giant Tenseigan to resonate. I'm asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Chapter 729. Drip, drip, the crisp sound of water dripping reverberated in the cave hidden behind the waterfall. A black shadow, drenched from head to toe, was shuttling through it, heading deeper into the cave. The black shadow looked a little strange, like a mechanical puppet. It was stiff and lacked coordination. When it moved, there would even be a few mechanical squeaking sounds coming from its body. However, this did not affect the black shadow's movements. It quickly moved through the damp cave, allowing the water droplets from the stalactites at the top of the cave to drip onto the brim of its cloak. After an unknown amount of time, the black shadow finally arrived at the deepest part of the cave. At this moment, in front of him was an ancient stone door. This stone door was very tall, but there were no inscriptions or characters carved on it. There was only a beautiful eye that seemed to contain the stars. An eye. Staring at the magical eye relief, the black shadow was stunned for a long time before it remembered to go forward and take a look. However, the eye relief in the stone door did not seem to be magical. The black shadow studied it for a long time, but still could not understand it. Therefore, he could only take out a map from the storage bag at his waist, and then compared it to the markings on the map. He carefully checked it and muttered, "It should be here, but what is hidden behind this door?" Suppressing the doubts in his heart, the black shadow followed the instructions on the map and found the mechanism to open the stone door. Clang, When the Black Shadow activated the mechanism, a low sound came from the stone door. Then, the tall and heavy ancient stone door was pulled by an unknown force and slowly opened in front of the Black Shadow. From the traces of time on the stone door, the Black Shadow could infer that this stone door had at least a few hundred years of history, and the mechanism to control this stone door was still working. This alone was enough to shock the Black Shadow. With a shocked heart, the Black Shadow slowly walked through the stone door. Behind the stone door was a very wide interior space. In the center was a stone platform that looked like an altar, and on the stone platform was a huge stone sculpture that looked like an eyeball. This, with just a glance, the Black Shadow recognized the eyeball sculpture on the altar. It was the same eye as the one on the stone door. Walking into the space behind the door, the Black Shadow found that this place was different from the gloomy and damp outside the stone door. It was very dry here, and the dome was inlaid with special gems that could illuminate. These gems emitted a dim light that sprinkled on the stone statue of the altar, giving the whole stone statue a strange and unreal feeling. Slowly walking up the altar, the Black Shadow circled around the eyeball sculpture a few times and couldn't help but exclaim, "What an exquisite work of art!" The huge eyeball sculpture on the altar was not only lifelike, but it also exuded an indescribable aura that made the Black Shadow feel a sense of familiarity with it. Could this be the sin that the family is trying to hide? The Shadow is a little puzzled. The map he collected from the ancient books clearly points to this place, and from the lines of the ancient books, it is indicated that the biggest secret of the Hyuga clan is hidden here, or rather, the biggest crime of the Hyuga clan so far. But the exquisite stone sculpture of the eyeball in front of him obviously has nothing to do with the so-called secret or sin. At this moment, the Black Shadow inadvertently found that the map in his hand actually reflected a row of small text under the light of the dome. This discovery made the Black Shadow excited. He quickly read these words, and the expression on his face constantly changed as he read, as if what he was reading was something incredible. After a long time, the Black Shadow turned his eyes to the stone sculpture in the center of the altar and murmured, "So that's it." Through the lines of text reflected on the map by the dim light, the Black Shadow understood everything. He slowly walked to the stone sculpture, reached out and pressed on the stone sculpture, while activating chakra, whispered the complex spell shown on the map, and finally shouted, "Open!" Hua! In an instant, the outer shell of the stone sculpture collapsed like sand, peeling off little by little, revealing the dazzling giant Tenseigan inside, as if it contains all the stars. Looking at the incomparably gorgeous giant Tenseigan in front of him, almost illuminating the entire interior space, the Black Shadow looked fanatical. Tenseigan. Tenseigan. Is this the supreme treasure of our Hyuga clan? And while chanting the spell on the map and activating the giant Tenseigan, a huge amount of information poured into the Black Shadow's body. The huge amount of information hit his brain, making it difficult for the Black Shadow to bear for a while, and he wailed in pain. After a while, he finally recovered and murmured, "This kind of power is actually sealed in this dark cave." Stupid, simply stupid to the extreme. Understanding everything. Not only did he not have the slightest awe, but he felt a burst of absurdity. In his opinion, if the Hyuga clan knew how to use this power, they would have been able to unify the shinobi world and become the supreme existence in the shinobi world. What Senju clan, Uchiha clan, none of them are worthy of being compared with the Hyuga clan. And as he sorted out the information that just poured into his body one by one, the Black Shadow was shocked to find that the core of the cage bird curse is the giant Tenseigan in front of him. The operation and maintenance of the cage bird depends on this giant Tenseigan. After a while, the Black Shadow couldn't help but say to the giant Tenseigan in front of him, "No wonder no one in the shinobi world can break the cage bird curse of our Hyuga clan. It turns out that you are the root of this curse. No one knows how many people in the shinobi world have tried to break the cage bird curse of the Hyuga clan, and no one knows how many members of the Hyuga clan have privately explored the method to break the cage bird curse, but no one has succeeded. All their research and all their investment are in vain in front of the cage bird curse. One must know that even the undead demon seal that has signed a contract with a shinobi has a way to break it, but the cage bird curse of the Hyuga clan can't be broken, and this has long caused many experts in the shinobi world to be puzzled. In fact, the Black Shadow didn't know that even the members of the Hyuga clan who have been Edo Tenseigan cannot escape the shackles of the cage bird curse, which shows that death can't resist the cage bird curse. Even Hyojin, who has awakened the Tenseigan, can only use his own Tenseigan to bypass the shackles of the cage bird curse on his body. Once he closes the Tenseigan, the cage bird curse on his forehead will reappear. I'm asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 730. So far, except for Hyojin, who used his own Tenseigan to break the cage bird curse, no one else in the shinobi world has been able to break the cage bird curse. It stands to reason that the Hyuga clan is not good at sealing techniques. Except for the cage bird curse, there are no other powerful sealing techniques passed down in the clan. Therefore, even if one or two geniuses with extremely high attainments in sealing techniques have appeared in the clan, it is unlikely that they would be able to develop a sealing technique like the cage bird curse in a hurry. Therefore, the reason why the cage bird curse is so difficult to break, in addition to the cage bird curse itself, the more important reason is the giant Tenseigan that protects the cage bird curse. Because of the existence of this giant Tenseigan, it is almost impossible to break the cage bird mantra by technical means unless one can break free from the suppression of this giant Tenseigan like Suijin. Otherwise, it is almost impossible to break the cage bird mantra through technical means. In other words, instead of saying that the cage bird curse is imprisoning all the members of the Hyuga clan, it is better to say that the giant Tenseigan hidden in the cave is imprisoning all the members of the Hyuga clan. While maintaining the cage bird curse, this giant Tenseigan is also silently absorbing the Byakugan chakra from all the members of the Hyuga clan through the cage bird curse to maintain its own existence. The population of the Hyuga clan has been slowly decreasing for hundreds of years, and the main culprit is this sealed giant Tenseigan. Fortunately, the ancestors of the Hyuga clan did not sink into the powerful power of the giant Tenseigan and reluctantly sealed it. Otherwise, the current Hyuga clan will probably be like the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. The population will be reduced to the tragic situation of only one child left. Worried that the descendants may not be able to control themselves and sink into the great power brought by the giant Tenseigan, the ancestors had to completely erase all the records related to the giant Tenseigan in the clan, even the entire history, leaving only clues in a few key ancient books, leaving the power to protect themselves when the clan encounters the disaster of extinction in the future. I'm free. The shadow knelt in front of the giant Tenseigan with a crazed expression. He doesn't know the helplessness of his ancestors in sealing this giant Tenseigan, nor does he understand the miserable fate of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. He only knows that with this giant Tenseigan, the caged bird can no longer trap him. The forbidden spell hidden on the map is the key to controlling this giant Tenseigan. As long as you have the bloodline of the Hyuga clan and have the Byakugan chakra, you can control the usage of this giant Tenseigan through that awkward-sounding forbidden spell. And by mastering this giant Tenseigan, he will also obtain the highest authority of the cage bird curse seal. Because even the technique to control the cage bird curse seal is actually completed through this giant Tenseigan. This is why once the main family learns that a branch family member is captured by the enemy on the battlefield, they can immediately activate the cage bird curse seal, regardless of the distance, and curse the captured branch family member to prevent the captured branch family member from leaking secrets or causing the Byakugan Kekii limit to flow out by giving birth. It can be said that this giant Tenseigan is the core that connects all the Hyuga clan members. At this moment, the shadow who was in ecstasy suddenly froze because he, who had gained control of the giant Tenseigan, suddenly sensed that someone was spying on him. And there was more than one spy. The shadow's heart trembled, and he quickly sealed the giant Tenseigan in front of him, isolating himself from the prying in the air fortress. Hyegen narrowed his eyes, retracted his gaze, and murmured, "Isn't it the one on the moon?" This time, the resonance between the Tenseigan came very suddenly, and he, who has many resonance experiences, can clearly feel that this resonance is an instinctive resonance. In other words, whether it is the direction of the resonance or the nature of the resonance, the giant Tenseigan on the moon can be ruled out. It seems that my previous speculation is correct. In order to resist the crazy Otsutsuki clan members on the moon, the family really fused with their own giant Tenseigan. Because he had analyzed and speculated about this, Hyegen quickly stabilized his mind. This time, the resonance didn't last long, and the other party's reaction was very fast. Almost at the moment when he sensed the resonance, the other party cut off the resonance. But from various signs, it should be the first time that the other party came into contact with the giant Tenseigan, so he accidentally leaked his trace, causing the giant Tenseigan to resonate instinctively. Who could it be? Hyegen's face sank, and he began to analyze. At present, there are a total of 2 targets worthy of his suspicion. One is the Zong family, and the other is the traitor who raided the secret vault and stole many ancient books of the family. Because he is not sure whether the Zong family has clues about the giant Tenseigan, and his current relationship with the Zong family is very tense, he did not blindly rule out the possibility of the Zong family activating the giant Tenseigan. But logically, he is more inclined to believe that the traitor found clues about the giant Tenseigan through the ancient books stolen from the secret vault, thus activating the giant Tenseigan. This reason is very simple. If the Zong family really has the giant Tenseigan, then in the original space-time cloud abduction of Hinata, the Zong family will not be so weak. Even the patriarch Hayashi was almost thrown out as a scapegoat. If it's a traitor, why did he suddenly make a move after being silent for so long? Such a doubt emerged in Hyegen's heart. Although Kuroda has been very busy in the past few years, he has never slacked off from paying attention to the affairs of the Konoha clan. It's just that for some reason, the traitor has suddenly settled down, neither causing any damage to the Konoha clan nor colluding with the Kumo village. So Kuroda, who has been paying close attention to the Konoha clan, hasn't found anything. Who would have thought that the traitor would either not make a move for several years, or once he made a move, he would cause such a huge commotion? At the thought of the giant Tenseigan of the family finally appeared, Hyegen couldn't sit still. He was worried about breaking through the Kekii net, and he was a little unsure. After all, the amount of chakras required to break through the Kekii net is very terrible. From the perspective of the six-path sage, at least the peak of the six-path level plus Jubi can become a Kekii net. And ordinary people, such as Uchiha Madara, Uchiha Obsidian, etc., only touch the peak of the six-path level after becoming the Jubi's Jinchuriki. In other words, they have become the Jubi's Jinchuriki, but they are still 1 Jubi away from the Kekii net. So whether it's the giant Tenseigan of the family or the giant Tenseigan on the moon, they are all potential collection targets for Hyegen. He needs to collect as many chips as possible in order to have a glimmer of hope to break through the Kekii net. So he hurriedly sorted out the improved Een seal that he had proofread, and then quickly rushed to the village. The second update is here, asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Chapter 731. Not long after, Hyegen hurried back to the village and quietly replaced the shadow clone he left in the village. After receiving the memories of the shadow clone in the past 2 weeks, Kuroda carefully combed through them, but did not find any valuable information. In these days, whether it is the village or the family, there seems to be no obvious movement. After pondering for a while, Hyegen found Richa in the clan land. Although Hyegen could not track the specific location of the other party due to the resonance of the Tenseigan, he can confirm that the giant Tenseigan is definitely not in the village. Its approximate range should be in the west of the Land of Fire, that is, somewhere between the Land of Earth, the Land of Demons, the Land of Bears, the Land of Birds, and the Land of Wind. And if the traitor wants to activate the giant Tenseigan, he must leave the village. If he does not have the ability to fly, he may need to leave the village for 1 to 2 weeks, or even longer. Therefore, As long as the family members who have left the village in the past 2 weeks are carefully investigated, the identity of the traitor can be quickly identified. After all, before actual contact, the traitor certainly did not know that the Tenseigan can resonate instinctively, so he did not guard against this. And when he activated the giant Tenseigan, he had already exposed himself. Although Richa felt a little strange about Hyojin's request, he did not say much, and readily handed him the list of the branch members who have left the village in the past 2 weeks. Immediately afterward, Hyojin collected the list of the members of the Hyuga clan who have left the village in the past 2 weeks through the channels of the Umbu and the Uchiha police force. Combining the lists obtained from these channels, Hyojin found that there were a total of more than 10 members of the Hyuga clan who had left the village in the past 2 weeks, but most of them have returned to the village, and only 3 people are still staying outside. But these 3 people are out with the team to perform tasks, and they have legitimate reasons to go out. Looking at the information of these 3 members of the Hyuga branch, Hyojin secretly thought, could it be that the traitor is among these 3? Although the background of these 3 members of the Hyuga branch family is very clean, and there is no doubt about it, but the fact that they are not in the village at this sensitive time is the biggest doubt. So Hyojin looked for Itachi, gave the information of the 3 people to Itachi, and ordered Itachi to secretly investigate these 3 members of the Hyuga branch family. Itachi didn't ask any more questions. After receiving the information of the 3 people, he immediately started investigating. After assigning the investigation tasks, Hyojin returned to his home. As soon as he entered the courtyard, Hyojin noticed that there was a conspicuous small bamboo tube in the corner of the courtyard. After picking up the bamboo tube and looking at it for a while, Hyojin took out the note from the bamboo tube. If you want to release the caged bird, come here alone to see me. There was only this short sentence on the note and a meeting address written on the back, and the address was a relatively remote grove outside my village. Hyojin was shocked and said, "He has returned to the village." At this time, leaving this message in this tone, Hyojin doesn't need to guess much. He knows that it is the traitor who activated the giant Tenseigan. But it is also because of this that he was very surprised. Because when the resonance occurred, the traitor should be very far away from my village, at least farther than the distance between him and my village when he was in the air fortress at that time. After realizing that the traitor activated the giant Tenseigan, Kuroto immediately set off from the air fortress and returned to the village. But the traitor can return to the village almost at the same time as him, which shows that the traitor's mobility is comparable to him with the Tenseigan chakra mode. One must know that Hyojin in the Tenseigan chakra mode is already one of the fastest in the shinobi world, but the traitor can actually be comparable to him, which makes him a little surprised. This guy's strength seems to be a lot stronger than I expected. After a pause, Hyojin curled his lips and said, "Humph, I didn't expect you to take the initiative to jump out before I found you. Well, I want to see who you are." Although he doesn't know the purpose of the other party's appointment, Hyojin decided to go to the appointment, because for him, this is the best opportunity to investigate the other party's identity. If possible, he can even use this opportunity to directly subdue the other party and seize control of the giant Tenseigan. Whoosh, after making up his mind, Hyojin's figure flickered and disappeared from the small courtyard in a burst of wind. It didn't take long for Hyojin to come to the agreed place on the note. He pushed away a piece of grass and found a person wrapped in a cloak in the depths of the woods. Hyojin approached the other party while activating the Byakugan. And the moment he activated the Byakugan, his brows wrinkled unconsciously, because in his Byakugan vision, the person wrapped in the cloak is not a living person, but a very ordinary puppet. "Tis." After a light sigh, Hyojin asked, "Who are you, and why did you leave such a note in my house?" The puppet wrapped in the cloak slowly turned around at this time and said in a mechanical voice, "Hyojin, you really came. It seems that I was not wrong about you." Hyojin didn't respond, but just stared at the other party coldly. From the tone of the other party's words, he found that the other party seems to know him very well, or in other words, the other party should have paid attention to him. At this time, the puppet opened its arms and said with a passionate face, "I am the god that can change everything. Hyojin, become my subordinate. I can give you freedom, give you everything you want. God, this sense of absurdity made Hyojin feel strange. The last guy who claimed to be a god in front of him had been completely annihilated by him using the truth-seeking ball, and the one before him was also taught a few lessons by him. Yes, I am God. With a smile, the puppet said, only I can remove the caged bird on your forehead and let you get rid of the shackles of fate. Hyojin narrowed his eyes. You can remove the caged bird? From the details revealed by the other party, he suddenly realized that the giant Tenseigan of his family may have some kind of internal relationship with the caged bird. And from the other party's confident tone, he once again confirmed the identity of the other party. It must be a member of the branch family, because only the members of the branch family would emphasize freedom so much, and only they would think that by removing the caged bird as a bargaining chip, they can surely persuade him. Seeing that Hyojin seemed to doubt it, the puppet joked, Hyojin, although you have made some achievements, your vision is still too narrow. The first update is here. Asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Chapter 732. Listening to the puppet in front of him laughing at him, Hyojin had a strange look on his face. At this time, the stiff face of the puppet became more and more playful. It chuckled and said, the caged bird can be broken. There's no doubt about this. You don't need to doubt it. In order to get more information, Hyojin deliberately asked, the caged bird has never been broken. Why should I believe you? The puppet chuckled with a sense of superiority. Your narrow vision is another cage. It's like a caged bird that imprisons you. The only difference is that the caged bird imprisons your fate, while the puppet imprisons your thoughts. Before this, the puppet has always felt that Hyojin is different from other members of the Hyuga family. He once felt an unprecedented spirit of resistance in Hyojin. It can be said that the existence of Hyojin made him recognize himself and prompted him to take this step and embark on a path that is completely different from the original time and space. But after getting the giant Tenseigan, he suddenly felt that Hyojin is not that great. In other words, in front of the unparalleled magical power of the giant Tenseigan, the so-called Hyuga family, the so-called village, and even the so-called Naruto are all vulnerable ants. They're all mediocre people with narrow vision. Hyojin snorted lightly. Although the one in front of him is not the real body of the puppet, but from the tone of the puppet and the arrogant attitude, Hyojin can clearly feel the arrogance of the other party. But this is not surprising. Suddenly getting a treasure like the giant Tenseigan can be called a divine artifact. It is normal for people to be arrogant and arrogant. What's more, the other party is a member of the Hyuga family who has been suppressed by the caged bird for a long time. Such a rebound will only be more intense and manic. So Hyojin is a little worried that this guy will make some unexpected trouble. The puppet took a step forward and continued to persuade. Hyojin, kneel down and surrender to me. Only I can change your fate. Hyojin sneered. Surrender to you? What's the difference between that and submitting to the Zone clan? Don't compare me to those idiots from the Zone clan. They aren't worthy. Pausing for a moment, the puppet continued in a disdainful tone. Hyojin, do you think that you can rebel against the Hyuga clan with your actions? No. Everything you've done is futile. Unable to break free from the caged bird, no matter how you struggle, no matter how you resist, in the eyes of the ancestral family, you're just a clown, a pitiful clown. Feeling the pitiful gaze cast by the other party, Kuroto said impatiently, how can I believe you if you keep hiding like this? Stop playing these little tricks. Come out and let's talk face to face. If you can convince me, I'll surrender to you. How about it? Kuroto was a little annoyed. The puppet stared at Hyojin for a while, then said, Hyojin, you don't have the qualifications to negotiate with me. Hyojin said lightly, I don't think so. Put away your pride. A mere position as the headmaster of a ninja school may be able to bluff the trash of the Zone clan, but in my eyes, it's worthless. After a pause, the puppet continued, surrender to me now, and you may have a place in the shinobi world in the future. Otherwise, you will be nothing. Hyojin's face became gloomy. He is now a little uncertain whether the other party has been reluctant to reveal his identity. whether it is because of his usual caution or simply arrogance, wanting to show a sense of superiority in front of the first person of the Hyuga clan. Seeing that Hyojin was silent, the puppet said in a displeased tone, "Poor man, believe me, this is your only chance to change your fate, and I will only grant you this once." Hyojin did not answer, but glanced around with the Byakugan, once again confirming that no one was hiding around. He understood that the puppet in front of him either used the spiritualization technique or used the power of the giant Tenseigan to perform the soul descending technique. In short, the other party's real body should not be nearby. The puppet's tone gradually turned cold. "What are you looking for?" The corner of Hyojin's mouth raised, and immediately his figure flashed, suddenly appearing in front of the puppet. The puppet was taken aback. Swish, with a sound of breaking wind, Hyojin raised his sword and cut the puppet in front of him in half. Hyojin knew very well that if the other party's real body was not nearby, then he had no good way to deal with the other party, because other than the truth-seeking ball, he had no way to hurt the spirit body. And if he used the truth-seeking ball, he would expose his Tenseigan in advance. But even if the Tenseigan was exposed, he was not fully confident that he could keep the other party. Whether it was letting the other party go, revealing his own information, or killing the other party and losing the clue of the giant Tenseigan, this was not the result Hyojin wanted, so he did not choose to expose the Tenseigan, but directly took action, hoping to force the other party's spirit body out in this way, and then track the spirit body to find the other party's real body. Crack! The puppet that was slashed by Kuroto was instantly smashed to the ground. After the puppet's scattered head rolled on the ground a few times, it opened its mouth and said with some annoyance, "Stupid guy, you know nothing about my power." Bang! Without waiting for the puppet to continue shouting, Hyojin crushed the wooden head of the puppet with one foot. After dealing with the puppet, Hyojin fully activated the Byakugan and observed the surroundings, but he did not find any trace of the spirit body, not even the fluctuation of chakra. Didn't this guy use the spiritualization technique, or soul descent technique? Hyojin frowned. The other party seemed to be more cunning than he expected. He pondered for a while, and with his understanding of the Tenseigan, he felt that the other party was probably just using the Tenseigan chakra to activate the puppet, and then remotely controlling the puppet through the giant Tenseigan. And the other party's method of using the puppet also reminded Hyojin that the other party doesn't need to leave the village at all. As long as he uses the spiritualization technique to control the puppet, he can activate the giant Tenseigan anywhere in the shinobi world. So his previous method of detecting the traitor is fundamentally wrong. In the Hyuga clan, Kuroto Aoki suddenly opened his eyes and said with a ferocious expression, "How dare you refuse my kindness? What an ignorant guy." After a while, he smiled and said, "Well, after I conquer the family, the village, and the entire shinobi world, I will slowly enjoy your regret." After saying that, Kuroto Aoki in the wheelchair closed his eyes again. At the same time, in another part of the village, another puppet stood up and slowly walked towards the Uchiha clan's land. The second update is here, asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 733. Inside a small forest next to the Uchiha clan's land, Fuyue crossed his arms over his chest and looked at the puppet in front of him with a vigilant look. Spiritualization technique? Humph! I didn't expect someone in the village to have mastered this technique. As the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, Fuyue was not shocked by the fact that there was no puppeteer near the puppet, because when he was a teenager, he had fought alongside Kato Duan and had seen Kato Duan's secret technique, spiritualization technique. He knew that this technique could not only temporarily control the puppet, but it could also even turn the enemy's body into a puppet. It's just that after Kato Duan's death, no one in the village knew this magical secret technique anymore. The puppet smiled non-committally, then asked, "What do you think of my proposal just now? Do you think I will believe your words?" With that said, Fuyue activated the Scarlet Sharingan and said coldly, "Speak. Who are you? What are you trying to do here? I advise you to be honest here, Otherwise, I don't mind taking you to the police building's torture room to have a taste of our Uchiha clan's Genjutsu torture." The puppet smiled and said, "It doesn't matter who I am. I just want to help your Uchiha clan get back what belongs to you." "With just you?" Fuyue's face showed the usual arrogance of the Uchiha clan. Although the Uchiha clan longs for the position of Naruto, they have not fallen to the point where they need the help of an unknown puppet. Humph! Feeling Fuyue's contempt, the puppet snorted in displeasure, then immediately raised its hand and clenched its fist towards Fuyue. Just when Fuyue was slightly surprised, he suddenly felt his body being pulled by an inexplicable force, and his whole body involuntarily flew towards the direction of the puppet. The puppet grabbed the surprised Fuyue with its outstretched arm and said with a smile, "Chief Uchiha, am I qualified?" Fuyue, who was pinched by the neck, immediately understood that the puppet in front of him was by no means ordinary, and immediately wanted to use the Manjikyu Sharingan to deal with the enemy. But at this moment, he suddenly discovered that the chakra in his body had been sucked out along the arm of the puppet that was strangling him. How is this possible? A horrified expression slowly spread across Fuyue's face, replacing his original astonishment. He had never heard of such a method. After throwing Fuyue far away on the ground, the puppet laughed heartily and said, "Uchiha is just so." Fuyue struggled to get up from the ground. His heart was filled with shock and fear. He never thought that he, who has the Manjikyu Sharingan, would be defeated by a mere puppet. He also understands that although there is an element of carelessness and underestimation of the enemy, the strange means of the other party, especially the ability to suck out his chakra in an instant just now, really shocked him. Knowing that it has deterred the other party, the puppet slowly stepped forward and said, "I help you ascend to the throne of Naruto, and you help me regain the power of the Hyuga clan. Such cooperation is only good for both of us, and for the two great clans of the Hyuga clan and Uchiha clan." Fuyue pondered for a moment. Seeing Fuyue pondering, the puppet said, "If it weren't for the caged bird restraining me, I wouldn't have chosen to cooperate with your Uchiha clan, so don't hesitate. This is the best opportunity for both of us." Suppressing the complicated thoughts in his mind, Fuyue seriously considered the other party's proposal. The other party did not shy away from his identity as a member of the Hyuga branch family. So in terms of sincerity, Fuyue feels that he can still trust it because he knows very well what the caged bird means. No matter how strong the branch family is, they can't resist the Hyuga clan. So standing in the other party's position, the safest way to solve the Hyuga clan is to use the hands of the Uchiha clan. The puppet urged impatiently, "Can you give me an answer now?" Fuyue shook his head. "Although I am the patriarch, this is a matter of life and death for the entire Hyuga clan. I can't make a decision alone. I need to convene a clan meeting, so I can't give you an answer now. What a waste." After cursing in his heart, the puppet said, "Remember, I only give you one day. If you can't give me an answer by tomorrow, then I will have to find another partner." After saying that, the puppet left the grove without looking back. Walking on the path in the forest, the puppet had a smile on his face, showing the joy of Kuroto Aoki, who was remotely controlling the puppet at this moment. Naturally, Kuroto Aoki doesn't really want to cooperate with the Uchiha clan. He only wanted to confuse Fuyue this time to let the Uchiha clan and the Naruto clan fight each other, and then he can benefit from it. Because the current appeal of the Uchiha clan is well known to the people in the village. So he believes that as long as he confuses the Uchiha clan, he can make the Uchiha clan obediently fall into the trap. However, he didn't expect that Fuyue would be so indecisive, making him waste his breath in vain. However, the feeling of manipulating the dignified patriarch of the Uchiha clan as a chess piece makes him feel relaxed and happy. At that time, he also used the Cloud Village to retaliate against the clan, but at that time, his strength was limited and he couldn't control the situation. He could only play a small role in providing intelligence. But now, after obtaining the giant Tenseigan, Kuroto feels that he is already a chess player who can control the shinobi world from behind the scenes. Whether it is the Hyuga clan, the Uchiha clan, or even the My Village, they are just chess pieces in his hands. Thinking of Fuyue's frightened expression just now, Kuroda, who has been suppressing his emotions for so many years, almost laughed out loud. For the first time, Kuroda felt that controlling power and playing with others is such a wonderful thing. Now, more and more, he feels that the original attachment to the Uchiha clan and the compromise with the clan are too meaningless. He feels that he should have taken this step towards the peak of the shinobi world a long time ago. Thinking of the glorious future that he will create with his own hands, Kuroda's footsteps became a little lighter, and he couldn't wait to start all his plans. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure blocked in front of the puppet. This person is none other than Hyojin Kuroda, who came to the Uchiha clan to find Itachi. He didn't expect to meet the traitor who controlled the puppet again near the Uchiha clan. And after seeing that the person in front of him is Hyojin Kuroda, the puppet smiled and said, "Hyojin Kuroda, you came at the right time." Kuroda Aoki was a little upset that the puppet he controlled was easily dealt with by Hyojin Kuroda, because he didn't expect that Hyojin Kuroda would have the courage to make a move against him, a person who has the means to remove the caged bird. Now that he happened to run into him again, he decided to teach Hyojin a lesson, a hard lesson. He wants to let Hyojin know what the true power of the Hyuga clan is. He wants Hyojin to feel with his own body what the supreme Tenseigan is. Here is the first chapter, asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes, and alt-script and AGT, and alt/script and AGT. Chapter 734. After discovering that the traitor controlled the puppet and appeared near the Uchiha clan, Hyojin realized that something was wrong, because the other party was obviously not here for an outing. On second thought, Hyojin roughly guessed the other party's thoughts. Because for any ambitious person, the Uchiha clan was a sharp blade that could be easily used. As long as there was a little provocation, the dissatisfied Uchiha clan might lose control. It seems that I must find this guy as soon as possible. Hyojin's face darkened, and he secretly made up his mind. If he allowed this fellow to stir up trouble in the village, then the situation that he had managed to stabilize with great difficulty would probably descend into chaos in no time. At this time, the puppet's body sank slightly, and it put on a fighting posture and shouted, "Small guy, open your eyes and see clearly. This is my true power." After saying that, the puppet pushed with both hands, and a huge repulsive force attacked Hyojin. Boom! With a loud roar and roar, Hyojin and everything around him were blown away by this huge repulsive force. After flying for dozens of meters, Hyojin could barely stabilize his body. You should be familiar with this kind of power. Back then, the leader of the Akatsuki organization, Nagato, used this move to destroy the village. The puppet chuckled before continuing in a mocking tone. Your mind should be filled with shock right now, right? Perhaps even deep regret. You should be able to determine whether what I said was true or false now, right? Hyojin squatted on the ground with a calm face and thought to himself, it seems to be much weaker than the one on the moon. Just now, he resisted the opponent's rain wheel, not because he couldn't avoid it, but because he wanted to test how strong the opponent's repulsive force could be, so as to judge the state of the giant Tenseigan controlled by the opponent. According to the situation of the blow, just now, he could clearly feel that the giant Tenseigan of his family was obviously inferior to the one on the moon in terms of ocular power. However, this was also reasonable. After all, the giant Tenseigan on the moon had merged almost all the Byakugan of the Otsutsuki clan living on the moon, and the family's giant Tenseigan had at most a few hundred pairs of Byakugan at the beginning. In terms of the number of Byakugan fused, the two giant Tenseigan were not on the same level at all. At the same time, Hyojin also tried to track the source of the opponent's chakra, and the result was speechless. Obviously, the family's giant Tenseigan, like the one on the moon, also has the ability to transmit chakra remotely, and this kind of long-distance transmission of chakra is untraceable. Just like Hyojin borrowed the giant Tenseigan chakra on the moon to deceive everyone, including Nagato, who had the Rinnegan. The puppet in front of him also borrowed the family's giant Tenseigan chakra to avoid Hyojin's detection, so Hyojin couldn't track it. The puppet didn't know that Hyojin had analyzed a lot of information from its attack just now. It continued to say, "Unfortunately, it's too late for you to regret it now. I said that I would only give you one chance to submit to me, and you have failed to live up to my kindness." Hyojin slowly got up. Since he couldn't find any clues from the puppet in front of him, he didn't bother to talk nonsense anymore. Seeing Hyojin get up, the puppet smiled and said, "But don't worry, I won't kill you. I want you to witness with your own eyes how I lead the family to the top." Whoosh! Before the puppet finished speaking, Hyojin flashed in front of the puppet in a burst of wind and waved the Kusanagi pill in his hand. So fast, the puppet was taken aback. As it retreated, it subconsciously raised its arms in front of its body to protect itself. In an instant, the cold blade cut through the puppet's arms in front of its body like cutting tofu, neatly cutting off the joints of the elbows, leaving only half of the smooth fracture. After jumping back to the ground, the puppet was shocked and angry. "How come your body flicker technique?" Whoosh! Hyojin's figure flashed again and came behind the puppet. Feeling the turbulence of the airflow behind it, the puppet held back what it wanted to say. It knew that Hyojin had sneaked behind it, so it wanted to turn around and use Rain Rui to send Hyojin flying. However, just as it twisted its body halfway, its vision was filled with a flash of the blade. Then, it found that the upper half of its body was high in the air. Crack! With a crisp sound, the upper half of the puppet's body fell heavily to the ground, shattering into a large pile of components. Only its head was more or less intact. After rolling on the ground a few times, it crashed into a large tree before stopping. At this time, the puppet's head roared angrily, "Hyojin!" Hyojin still didn't say a word and walked over slowly with Kusanagi Maru. Although the other party has the support of the giant Tenseigan, the puppet controlled by it is too ordinary, not even a high-quality one. If it uses the giant Tenseigan's ability to sneak attack, it may cause some trouble to Hyojin, but if it's a one-on-one fight, it's completely not enough. Hyojin doesn't even need to use his Tenseigan to easily kill the opponent. The puppet seemed to be completely angered by Hyojin's contempt, and it roared, "How dare you despise me like this? I will make you pay the price." At this moment, Hyojin Aoki, who controlled the puppet remotely, was furious. His sense of superiority after getting the giant Tenseigan was ruthlessly trampled on by Hyojin. At the same time as the puppet roared, the puppets hidden by Hyojin Aoki in every corner of the village all stood up. These puppets seemed to have a soul in an instant, and without avoiding the villagers, they all flew towards the grove where Hyojin was. In just a moment, these puppets rushed to the grove and surrounded Hyojin. There are more than a dozen of these puppets, and they stretched out their hands towards Hyojin together, and the chakra in their palms quickly gathered into a dazzling ball of light. Feeling the violent chakra fluctuations around him, Hyojin's expression became solemn. Boom! Boom! In an instant, these chakra balls like Rasengan shot towards Hyojin from all directions, causing a burst of violent explosions. When these puppets rushed over, they had already attracted the attention of many my ninjas, and with the violent explosions, the nearby my ninjas immediately gathered in the direction of the grove. The Uchiha clan, which was the closest, reacted even more quickly. The moment Patriarch Fue noticed the explosion, he led a large number of elites of the police force and rushed towards the direction of the explosion. I'm asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 735. Why is this happening? In surprise, the last puppet on the field weakly dropped its arm that was holding Hyojin's arm. After fighting with Hyojin Aoki, who was controlling the puppet behind the scenes, realized how fast and fierce Hyojin's taijutsu was. In the face of such taijutsu, he didn't even have time to use many of his moves, and the puppets he controlled were destroyed one by one. But these were not enough to surprise him. What really surprised him was that the unique skill he used to extract Fuyue's chakra failed on Hyojin. Obviously, Hyojin Aoki, who had just mastered the giant Tenseigan, didn't know that the giant Tenseigan's ability to extract chakra by force was ineffective on the descendants of Otsutsuki Himura, who had the Byakugan. Not to mention Hyojin, who also had the Tenseigan. Even if it was an ordinary member of the Hyojin's branch family, his unique skill would not work. Hyojin slowly raised the Kusanagi Maru, ready to give the puppet a final blow. He didn't know why the puppet was so surprised, and he didn't want to find out about it at the moment. Looking at the cold light reflected on the sharp blade of the Kusanagi Maru, the puppet said angrily, "Hyojin, taijutsu is nothing at all. You don't know what real power is. I will make you understand." Clang with a loud sound, the Kusanagi Maru penetrated the puppet's head, and the puppet's roar stopped abruptly. "Idiot!" Hyojin spat out 2 words softly. He knew better than anyone that the 6th-path level experts more or less had the ability to absorb chakra and ninjutsu, and those Otsutsuki who could cross the universe and plunder the energy of planets with a sacred tree had reached the point where they could ignore ordinary ninjutsu. To deal with such strong people, taijutsu would never fall behind. This was also the reason why Hyojin constantly honed his taijutsu, because it was unexpectedly useful to deal with the strong people of Otsutsuki. Swish, 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 at this moment, accompanied by the sound of breaking the wind, Uchiha's police force, my ninjas who were attracted by the explosion, and a team of patrolling umbu arrived in the woods one after another. Amidst the smoke and dust, everyone watched as Hyojin slowly pulled out the short sword that had pierced through the puppet's head and stood up. The surroundings were in a complete mess. There were holes from explosions, broken puppets, and toppled trees. All of these indicated that a fierce battle had broken out here not long ago. Fuyue, who was in the crowd, had a complicated expression on his face. When he saw the puppet fragments all over the ground, Fuyue immediately realized that the mysterious puppet he had just come into contact with had most likely been destroyed by Hyojin's sword. Itachi stood out from the crowd and asked, "Senior, what are you?" Hyojin put away the Kusanagi pill and said to everyone, "I'm sorry, I went a little overboard when I was practicing here just now. Everyone, please disperse." This was related to the giant Tenseigan, and Hyojin didn't want to involve too many people. Everyone saw that there were only puppet fragments scattered on the ground, there were no injured people, and there was no smell of blood. In addition, Hyojin was now one of the top executives of Mai, so although everyone had some doubts, they still dispersed one by one according to Hyojin's instructions. After the others left, Itachi, who deliberately stayed behind, came forward and asked, "Senpai, what is going on?" Hyojin said, "Stop the investigation task I gave you before. I have a new task for you to do." Considering that the other party could use the spirit body to control the puppet and go out to activate the giant Tenseigan, then the previous method of finding the traitor by investigating the people who went out in the past 2 weeks would be meaningless. At present, Hyojin had no other clues, so he could only choose to use the stupid method to find the traitor by investigating all the members of the Hyuga branch family. Fortunately, Hyojin had 2 Jinjutsu masters, Jishue and Itachi, by his side. As long as he didn't care about the cost, he could quietly investigate all the members of the Hyuga branch family in a month at most. At the same time, after the battle just now, Hyojin always felt that something was wrong. Judging from the other party's performance, after getting the giant Tenseigan, the other party's mentality had been completely distorted, and he was immersed in the power brought by the giant Tenseigan. The other party even controlled the puppets to besiege him in the village. And with the other party's unscrupulous attitude, there should be no need to hide his identity to this extent, so Hyojin faintly felt that there should be some other reason for the other party to hide his identity so much. In the Hyuga clan, Pa, with a heavy slap on the armrest of the wheelchair, Hyuga Aoki roared with a distorted expression, "Damn it! Being slapped in the face twice in a row by Hyojin is not a pleasant experience." If it was in the past, Hyuga Aoki might not care about such humiliation, but since he got the giant Tenseigan, his mentality has changed. He feels that he is the chosen one, a superior god, so he can't tolerate being defeated in the hands of a branch family. After restraining his emotions, Hyuga Aoki said, The movement just now can't be hidden from them. Now is not the time to fight with them. I can't stay here any longer. Thinking of this, Hyuga Aoki called the prison guard. The guard is also a member of the branch family. Plus, Hyuga Aoki is disabled. So he opened the prison door and walked in without any wariness and asked, "What's wrong?" At this time, Hyuga Aoki put his hand on the guard's body and then suddenly launched the giant Tenseigan to extract the ability of chakra, but found that it was the same as when he faced Hyojin just now. There was no effect at all. It turns out that this trick can't be used on the family members. After confirming this, Hyuga Aoki knocked the guard out with a backhand. Not long after, Hyuga Aoki quietly left the village through the secret passage he had prepared many years ago. Looking back at the village behind him, Hyuga Aoki gritted his teeth and said, "Hyojin." Originally, everything was so beautiful. He could hide behind the scenes, dominate everything, play with everything, and then appear as the savior, control the family and the village in his hands. However, all of this had been destroyed by someone he had not expected at all. This caused him to have no time to implement many of his plans, and even the family that he wanted to retaliate against the most. Before he could even clean up, he had to flee in panic like a stray dog. At the same time, Otsutsuki Samurai used the soul descent technique to control a puppet that looked almost exactly like him, searching for the giant Tenseigan in the country of fire. Like Hyojin, he couldn't find the specific location of the other party, only a general area. First update, asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Chapter 736. Inside the prison of the Hyuga clan. Richa looked at the unconscious guard sitting in the wheelchair, and his face was gloomy. He never thought that the disabled Hyuga Aoki would actually break out of the prison and defect. To him, this was simply unimaginable, because the members of the Hyuga branch don't have the option of defection at all. Even if they escape thousands of miles away, the cage bird curse seal can easily kill the defector. Because of this, there's only one guard guarding the prison of the Hyuga clan, and the guard vigilance is not very high. Hyojin on the side didn't say much, just quietly observed the surroundings, looking for any clues that the other party may have left behind. After solving the puppets in the grove, Hyojin returned to the clan land without stopping, and the first thing he did was to find Richa. The two exchanges with the traitor made Hyojin keenly aware of the traitor's hatred towards the main family. So he changed his mind this time and asked Richa about which members of the branch family are dissatisfied with the main family. However, for generations, the grudges between the branch family and the main family have been countless. If you look at it carefully, almost all the members of the branch family have more or less contradictions with the main family. Even Richa, who became a branch family member in this generation, is no exception. So without knowing what Hyojin is investigating, Richa couldn't provide any useful information. And just when Hyojin was preparing to use the Jinjutsu to interrogate all the members of the branch family one by one, a person mentioned by Richa caught Hyojin's attention. This person is Hyuga Aoki. When Kuroto learned that Hyuga Aoki had a conflict with the Zone clan not long ago and that his legs were disabled, Kuroto realized the source of the faint feeling in his heart that something was wrong. Disability. This point just explains why after the other party gained control of the giant Tenseigan, he obviously forgot himself and began to regard himself as a god, but why he still abnormally kept his identity and refused to reveal his name. This was because of his disability, so he had no choice but to be cautious and hide behind the scenes. And after understanding this, Kuroto immediately felt a trace of anxiety in his heart. Hyojin Aoki said that there is a way to break the cage bird, and Hyojin Aoki believes it, because he himself used the Tenseigan to bypass the cage bird. And if he can do it, then Hyojin Aoki, who has mastered the giant Tenseigan, can also do it. So for Kuroto Aoki, defection is also an option. The reason why Hyojin did not consider that the other party would defect was because he felt that with the other party's current arrogance, it was impossible for him to concede defeat and defect without exposing his identity. However, All of this was based on the premise that the other party was a healthy branch family member. If the other party was a disabled person, then everything would be uncertain. Therefore, Hyojin urged Richa to come to the clan's prison, but he was still a step too late. Why did he run away so quickly? He guessed that I would be able to find him? Standing in Kuroto Aoki's cell, Hyojin thought secretly. After noticing that the giant Tenseigan of the family was activated, he immediately returned to the village and launched an investigation. From the beginning of his investigation to the present, it has only been an hour or two, but in such a short time, the other party really admitted defeat and defected, which really surprised him, as if a heavy punch hit the air. At this time, Riches said with a gloomy face, "This matter can't be hidden. I can only report it to the clan." Hyojin nodded. Although his intuition tells him that the mole is most likely this Kuroto Aoki, he also has to consider the possibility that the mole is someone else. And Kuroto Aoki may just be a smoke bomb thrown by the other party to interfere with his investigation. After all, Kuroto Aoki's defection was too simple. So simple that he was a little panicked, as if he was avoiding a strong enemy. Kuroto Aoki, who escaped from the village, did not stop and flew all the way west. After gaining control of the giant Tenseigan, the disability of his body no longer hinders his ability to move. Because Rain Wheel is the same as Shinra Tensei of Nagato, it is also a flying technique, and Tendo, under the control of Nagato, also often uses Shinra Tensei to soar or fly in the air. After a long time, Kuroto Aoki landed by a small stream. After flying all the way, he has already escaped far away from the village, so he decided to rest by the stream for a while before continuing his journey. After all, he has just mastered the giant Tenseigan, and he is not proficient in the use of various techniques. Flying all the way has already made his body feel a little tired. But at this moment, a boy of 14 or 15 years old slowly walked over from the stream. A boy with white eyes and a smooth forehead without any curse marks. Seeing the boy, Kuroto Aoki's expression became solemn. After looking up and down, he said, "Humph, I knew that making such a big noise in the village would definitely be noticed by you, but I didn't expect you to catch up with me. Yama." The boy was startled, feeling a little inexplicable. There is no doubt that this boy with Byakugan eyes, but without the curse of the cage bird, is none other than Otsutsuki Tonari, who descended from a moon to the shinobi world. Kuroto Aoki, who was nearby, just sensed a familiar chakra fluctuation, so he followed this chakra fluctuation to have a look. Seeing the surprised look on the boy's face, Kuroto Aoki sneered and said, "Don't put on an act in front of me. In the entire shinobi world, there is no one but you who can quietly track me from the village to here. It's just that I didn't expect you to be so young." Through the secrets revealed on the map in the ancient book, Kuroto Aoki learned that the Tenseigan clan created this giant Tenseigan to deal with the distant relatives on the moon, the Otsutsuki clan. And after learning that there is a giant Tenseigan on the moon and an Otsutsuki clan living there, Kuroto Aoki immediately equated the mysterious organization Amatsuki with the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. In his view, only the Otsutsuki clan on the moon can be so mysterious and unpredictable, making all the shinobi villages and organizations in the shinobi world unable to find the roots of Amatsuki. And the various abilities of the leader of Amatsuki, Yama, are very similar to the ability of the Tenseigan, which further confirms his inference that Amatsuki is the Otsutsuki on the moon. It was also because of this that after creating chaos in the village, he chose to betray them so decisively, because he knew that Amatsuki must have a lot of spies in the village. The reason why he fled in such a hurry was not because he was worried about being caught by Hyojin, but because he was worried about being caught by Amatsuki. Second, I'm asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 737. The more he listened, the more confused he became, and said in a cold tone, "I don't understand what you were talking about, and I'm not interested in what you said. On the moon, Konoha doesn't have many opportunities to communicate with others, and he doesn't understand the ways of the world. He only follows his own set of principles. Humph! Hyuga Aoki snorted coldly with disdain on his face. Hyuga Aoki knows all the people of the Hyuga clan, and the boy with Byakugan in front of him is definitely not a member of the Hyuga clan, but he can track him quietly, so his identity is naturally obvious. Konoha didn't care about Hyuga Aoki's disdain and still asked in a cold tone, "Where is the giant Tenseigan?" Hyuga Aoki showed an expression of as expected and chuckled. "Do you think I will tell you?" With that, Hyuga Aoki put his hands into the ninja bag around his waist. Seeing that Hyuga Aoki refused to cooperate, Konoha slowly raised his hand and waved at Hyuga Aoki not far away. In an instant, a suction force suddenly appeared, pulling Hyuga Aoki by the stream towards Konoha. Hyuga Aoki, who was pulled in the air by the suction force, did not panic. He immediately urged the giant Tenseigan he controlled and also launched Rain Pull Pull, trying to offset the suction force exerted by Konoha. Boom! The violent confrontation between the repulsive force and the suction force was like two invisible hands entangled together. They distorted the surrounding airflow, light, and even space. And as this distortion became more and more serious, an explosion broke out in an instant. A huge shock wave wrapped in monstrous air waves quickly swept around. The mud and stones on the ground, the thick trees, and even the water in the stream, all of them were blown away. This is the first confrontation between Rain Pull Pull and Rain Pull Pull, and also the first collision between the giant Tenseigan of Otsutsuki and the giant Tenseigan of the Hyuga clan. Under the huge impact, both sides were forced to retreat a little, leaping into the air and floating in the air. Hovering at one end of the battlefield, Hyuga Aoki didn't care about the mess around, but locked his gaze on Tonari and said, "Humph, there's no way to argue, Yama." After this round of probing, he no longer had any doubts in his heart. He was certain that this harmless-looking young man in front of him was the leader of God's organization, Yama. This is because Kuroda has investigated the shinobi world in detail, and apart from him, only the leader of Amatsukami, Yama, and the leader of Akatsuki can control the repulsive force and the suction force. Akatsuki's leader was able to do this with the help of the Rinnegan's ability, and Amatsukami's leader, Yama of Amatsukami, was undoubtedly able to do this with the help of the giant Tenseigan. If he had only had his suspicions before, at this moment, he was certain that he had uncovered the biggest secret of God's organization. On the other side, after noticing Hyuga Aoki's disabled and slightly curled legs, Tonari's face sank and whispered, "So, it's just a servant?" Tonari's logic is very simple. A disabled person is not qualified to control the giant Tenseigan. So the person in front of him must be a servant who has been granted partial authority over the giant Tenseigan. And after understanding this, Tonari's attitude changed, and his originally cold face now had a natural condescension. In the eyes of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon, the Hyuga clan living in the shinobi world is essentially a group of poor relatives from the countryside. If the other party was the patriarch of the Hyuga clan who has control over the giant Tenseigan, then he may be able to condescend and communicate with the other party with an equal attitude. But if the other party is just a servant who runs errands, then in his eyes, the other party is just like the puppet servants on the moon, not qualified to be taken seriously by him. Thinking of this, Tonari no longer asked about the giant Tenseigan, because he felt that a mere servant certainly wouldn't know where the giant Tenseigan is. So he asked, "Where's your master? I want to see him." The blue veins on Hyuga Aoki's forehead bulged, and he said angrily, "You bastard! How dare you humiliate me like this?" Tonari didn't understand why Hyuga Aoki was angry, so he said lightly, "You are too presumptuous. Didn't your master teach you the etiquette that should be given to the superior? Using the ancestral family to humiliate me." After a pause, Hyuga Aoki said coldly, "Well, Yama, I admit that you have completely angered me, and you will pay for your arrogance. This shinobi world didn't belong to you before, it doesn't belong to you now, and it won't belong to you in the future." Tonari said, "This shinobi world is a failed product. My purpose is not to possess it, but to rebuild it. Hyuga Aoki was startled. Rebuild it? This is the last wish of the ancestor. It is the supreme will that can never be violated. After a pause, Tonari continued. This shinobi world created by the Sage of Six Paths is rotten and stupid. Such a shinobi world is not worth fighting for at all. Hyuga Aoki was shocked. You want to destroy the shinobi world? Tonari gently nodded. Destroying the shinobi world is not to kill, but to rebuild it in the future. Hyuga Aoki was still immersed in Tonari's words, and said in horror, So this is the ultimate goal of Amitsukami. Before this, Hyuga Aoki always thought that although Amitsukami must be hiding some kind of conspiracy, but compared to Akatsuki, Amitsukami at least has some bottom line, and is a party that can be cooperated with. But after obtaining the giant Tenseigan and understanding the secret of the moon, as well as the grudge between Hyuga and Otsutsuki, Hyuga Aoki knew that he was naturally standing on the opposite side of Amitsukami, and Amitsukami has become the biggest obstacle for him to reach the peak of the shinobi world. But after listening to Tonari's words, he was shocked to find that he is probably the only person in the shinobi world who knows the true purpose of Amitsukami. Seeing Hyuga Aoki's horrified face, Tonari continued, With the narrow-mindedness of a servant like you, it is impossible for you to understand the lofty ideals of the ancestor, so let your master come to see me. This is something that should be discussed by us superiors, and you servants only need to be responsible for carrying out the orders. Hyuga Aoki said angrily, Yama, underestimating me will be the biggest mistake you will ever make. After saying that, Hyuga Aoki took out a scroll from the ninja bag on his waist and unfolded it in the wind. In an instant, countless detonation talismans flew out of the scroll with the wind like snowflakes and rushed towards Tonari. Boom, boom, boom. Then a series of explosions sounded one after another, completely interrupting Hyuga Aoki and Otsutsuki Samurai's completely incomprehensible conversation. I'm asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 738. Violent explosions rang out incessantly, and the fire almost reflected the entire sky. And in this noisy explosion and the billowing smoke, Otsutsuki Samurai came out unscathed. He glanced at the direction where Hyuga Aoki fled in panic. It seemed that he did not intend to pursue, but muttered to himself, Yama, in my village. It didn't take long for the Hyuga Aoki's defection to be known by the clan. Soon, the whole village also knew about the matter, and then 1 to 10, 10 to 100, in less than half a day, the scandal of the Hyuga clan was known to the whole village. The reason why it caused such a sensation was not only because it was related to the Hyuga clan, but also because since the establishment of my village, there has never been a defection of a member of the Hyuga clan. In this regard, Hyuga Aoki can be regarded as a pioneer in the main house of the clan. This is simply a great shame to our Hyuga clan. We must not let him go. Well, there is no need to send people to chase after him. Directly use the caged bird curse to kill him. The people of the Branch family are really getting more and more outrageous. Several elders of the clan were discussing the defection of Hyuga Aoki with a passionate expression at the moment. In the main seat, Patriarch Hayashi also had a gloomy face. As one of the most powerful families in Mai, the clan naturally did not want to be criticized by the villagers because of the defection of a member of the clan. In the eyes of the clan, the reputation of the clan is far more important than the life of 1 or 2 members of the Branch family. At this time, an elder of the clan said, Hyuga Aoki's legs have been disabled for a long time. He did not have the ability to defect at all. It must be a traitor who helped him. Hayashi's face was solemn. The matter of the traitor has always been a thorn in Hayashi's heart. He has tried many methods, but he has not been able to find the hidden traitor in the clan. Another elder of the clan snorted coldly. That may not be true. Maybe this matter was planned by the people of the Branch family. The purpose is to embarrass our clan. Do the people of the Branch family have the courage to do so? I can't say for others, but that brat Hyojin definitely dares. That's right, it's that brat Kuroto. Because of his existence, many branch families dare to disobey our main family. We must put an end to this as soon as possible. We must not allow this trend to spread. As they spoke, the ancestral elders all looked towards Hayashi, who was sitting on a main seat. Hayashi shook his head. Uchiha's reputation is growing stronger day by day. If we have an intense internal friction at this time, the family might not be able to recover. Hayashi's worry wasn't without reason. Hence, the elders of his own clan also fell silent. At this moment, the clan elder who had come into contact with Shui Mu in private sneered, "Hyojin is the trusted aide of 3 generations. It's indeed inappropriate to use such violent methods to deal with him. But I have a way here. We can first remove him from the position of the headmaster of the ninja school, suppress his reputation, and let the people of the branch family be more honest." "What way?" Hayashi asked. Hyojin's indifference towards his own clan also aroused Hayashi's vigilance. So if there was a more gentle way to suppress Hyojin, he wouldn't oppose it. The elder immediately told everyone about his private contact with the instructor of the ninja school, Mizuki. That Mizuki came to me and said that he has a way to help us solve the big problem of Suijin. One of the elders asked, "What method does he have?" The ancestral elder who had come into contact with Shui Mu said, "Let him come forward and publicly identify Hyojin as the spy left in the village by the traitor Orochi Maru." What? Hayashi was taken aback and immediately frowned. Such a severe accusation. Does he have any evidence? The ancestral elder who had come into contact with Shui Mu spread his hands and grinned. "Do you need evidence? As long as there is this accusation, whether it is established or not, Hyojin can no longer stay in the sensitive position of the headmaster of the ninja school." Another ancestral elder was puzzled. That Shui Mu made such an accusation, I'm afraid that it will bring a lot of trouble to himself. Why did he do this? The ancestral elder who had come into contact with Shui Mu smiled and said, "That Shui Mu is an ambitious fool. After making a fool of himself in the actual combat exercise, not only did he have no hope of promotion, but he also can't stay in the ninja school anymore. So his condition is that our Hyuga clan will support him in becoming a jonin." Hayashi hesitated. "In this way, our Hyuga clan will lose the position of the headmaster of the ninja school. This is not appropriate. The price is still too high." Even the ancestral elders present had to admit that it was precisely because of the existence of the headmaster of the ninja school. Hyojin's reputation in the village had improved a lot. The ancestral elder who had come into contact with Shui Mu suggested, "I have also considered this issue. This matter was promoted by our Hyuga clan for the benefit of the village. We removed the clansman who occupied the position of the headmaster of the ninja school as compensation as a better clansman to take the position. It should be understandable." Hayashi narrowed his eyes. "You mean, let Hyoho replace him? The position of the headmaster of the ninja school is too influential. It must be replaced by someone from our ancestral family." After a short pause, the elders said confidently, "With the prestige of our Hyuga clan, I believe that Sandaime-sama will make a choice. After all, Hyuga Kuroto is just a branch family. It is impossible for Sandaime-sama to offend the Hyuga clan for him." In the headmaster's office of the ninja school, Itachi reported to Hyojin, "Senpai, your guess is right. Someone has indeed contacted my father, and according to my father, the other party is very mysterious, and his means are strange." Hyojin nodded gently. "Thank you for your hard work." After Itachi left, Hyojin got up and went to the window. From Itachi's report just now, he can confirm that Kuroto Aoki manipulated the puppets to appear near the Uchiha clan's land, is to instigate the Uchiha clan to rebel. And as he expected, Kuroto Aoki neither revealed his identity to Fuyue, nor did he reveal any information related to the giant Tenseigan to Fuyue. Therefore, Hyojin can roughly conclude that the news of the giant Tenseigan has not been leaked. Where will he escape to? After thinking about it for a while, Hyojin shook his head. He was not familiar with Kuroto Aoki, and he had never even talked to him before, so he couldn't guess Kuroto Aoki's thoughts. But one thing he was sure of was that Kuroda Aoki's hatred for the ancestral family would not be fake. So Kuroda Aoki will definitely come back to take revenge on the ancestral family. However, waiting for Kuroda Aoki to show up is obviously not Hyojin's style. So he summoned a ninja crow and asked it to send a message to 4 generations Mizukage Goji Arrow and order the Mist Ninjas to secretly search for Kuroda Aoki's traces. The second update, asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Chapter 739. With Hyojin's order, hundreds of Umbu elites of the Mist Village began to investigate the whereabouts of Kuroda Aoki under the guise of searching for Danzo. Hyojin is very confident in the ability of the Mist Village to collect intelligence. In the search for Dead Ale, the hunt for Danzo, and other key events, almost all of the information provided by the Mist Village played a decisive role and saved Hyojin a lot of trouble. It can be said that choosing to consume Kodoeme Tsukumi to secretly control 4 generations Mizukage Gokuyagura was indeed a very far-sighted move. After arranging all these, Hyojin didn't waste time at home waiting for the intelligence from the Mist Village, but concentrated his mind and began to practice the Yin Seal. In his eyes, strengthening oneself is always a higher priority than weakening the enemy. Back home, Hyojin began the final sorting of the improved draft. After the consumption of the previous 8 clones, the verification of the Yin Seal has actually been completed. From a technical point of view, this improvement has made Hyojin have made a major breakthrough in the field of Fuinjutsu. It can be said that with the completion of the improvement of the Yin Seal, his attainments in Fuinjutsu have also reached a new level. It can be said that in today's shinobi world, there are only a handful of people who can surpass Hyojin in terms of Fuinjutsu. However, because he has promised Tsunade Heim before, Hyojin will only use the improved Yin Seal for his own use and will not pass it on to others. After completing the final sorting of the improved draft, Hyojin didn't delay and immediately began to practice the Yin Seal. Because he has studied the Yin Seal thoroughly, and he has used the clones to practice it many times, the practice of using the Yin release went very smoothly. It only took him about 3 hours to complete the inscription of the Yin Seal on his forehead and connect it to the meridians of his body. Then, Hyojin carefully tried it. Fortunately, the Yin Seal and the caged bird didn't have any conflicts. In fact, because of the caged bird, the brain of the Yin body was protected by the caged bird, making the Yin Seal, which was located in the brain where the chakra seal was stored, stronger than he expected. After completing the initial training of the Yin Seal, Hyojin let out a sigh of relief. He then took out his notebook and started drawing on a blank page. The title at the top was Yin Seal Chakra Storage Limit Test. Needless to say, the Yin Seal was indeed a very advanced sealing technique. However, it could not store chakra indefinitely. Like all sealing techniques, it had a limit, and the limit was located in the sealed area of the brain. Once the entire sealed area was filled, no matter how much chakra was extracted from the meridians, it would not be able to store anymore. Therefore, testing the Yin Seal storage limit was the first research project Hyojin had to complete after mastering the Yin Seal. This was the only way he could know his enemy. The method of testing was actually very simple. Hyojin took out the Earth Escape clone that he brought out from the Sky Fortress from the Sealing Scroll and placed it in front of the Yin body. Then he controlled the Yin body to activate the Yin Seal and extract the chakra from the Yin body. Then, he continuously transported the chakra through the meridians of the Yin body to the sealed area of the Yin Seal. I'm so tired. After a long time, Hyojin, who had completed the chakra seal, shook his head and felt a tiredness that came from the depths of his soul. Extracting chakra did not only deplete one's physical energy, but it also depleted one's mental energy. Therefore, after extracting chakra from one's entire body, not only would one's body be exhausted, but even one's spirit body would be in a trance and have all sorts of negative reactions. Moreover, it had been a long time since Hyojin used up chakra to this extent. After resting for a while, Hyojin carefully sensed the sealed area in the brain. he realized that the whole sealing process had used up about 10% of the chakra. In other words, if Hyojin extracted 100 units of chakra's amount, then only 90 of them could be stored. The rest would be consumed during the extraction, movement, and storage process. 90% storage efficiency, Hyojin mumbled as he made notes in his notebook. This level of consumption was still acceptable to him. However, the sealed area was empty at the moment, so the consumption would be smaller. As the amount of chakra in the sealed area increased in the future, the consumption would definitely increase. This was unavoidable. After estimating the consumption ratio, Hyojin calmed down and sensed the sealed area again. Then, the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. After completing the storage of chakra, the sealed area was still empty. It was obvious that the sealed area's capacity was very impressive. Based on Hyojin's estimation, the amount of chakra he produced for the day only occupied about 0.1% of the sealed area's capacity. Based on this figure, if Hyojin wanted to fill up the entire sealed area, he would need to continuously supply chakra to the sealed area for 3 years. Of course, this calculation method was inaccurate. As the sealed area was filled, the consumption would gradually increase and the storage efficiency would gradually decrease. Therefore, if he wanted to completely fill up the sealed area, it might take more than 4 years. In order to further verify this point, Hyojin activated the 100 Grand Arts and instantly threw his spirit body into the Earth Escape avatar opposite him. He used the white eye to observe the En Escape avatar in the state of the 100 Grand Arts and the sealed area in the En Escape avatar's brain. Through the Earth Escape avatar's perspective, he once again confirmed that the day's amount of chakra only occupied about 0.1% of the sealed area's total capacity. After the spirit body returned to the En Escape avatar, Hyojin began to record the data in his notebook. As he wrote, he suddenly realized that the En seal and the 8 inner hidden gates were actually very compatible. This was because through the En seal, he could quickly let his body enter a state of extreme exhaustion and save a lot of time spent on training. This was because the efficiency of cultivating the 8 inner hidden gates was the highest when the body was at its limit. As for the consumption of the body, for ordinary people, this might be a big problem that was difficult to avoid, but for Hyojin, this was not a big deal. This was because with the current strength of his En Escape avatar, as long as he did not go too far, it would not cause irreversible damage to his body. I'm asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 740. For the next few days, Hyojin kept testing the data of his improved En seal, and he was satisfied with the results. At least the En seal that he improved would not be any worse than the original. It was another early morning, and the gentle sunlight shone through the gap of the curtains in Hyojin's room. Hyojin, who was sitting cross-legged on the floor, slowly opened his eyes. He turned his head and glanced at the soft morning light that shone on the carpet. He spaced out for a while, and then he smiled and started drawing on the notebook in front of him. He did not rest again that night. He spent almost the entire night with his eyes closed, sensing the details of the En seal's storage of chakra, and optimizing and correcting the problems that he discovered. After a long time of recording, he let out a soft sigh. After these days of continuous optimization, he had increased the efficiency of the En seal's storage of chakra from 90% to 95%. And according to his calculations, even if the efficiency had reached 95%, there was still a lot of room for improvement. If he could achieve complete control of his body and absolute control of chakra, then the efficiency of the En seal's storage of chakra could be infinitely close to 100%. Of course, this was the most ideal situation. If Hyojin wanted to achieve this, he must first break through his own limits and completely understand the 8 inner hidden gates to reach the level where he could open the 8th gate, the death gate. At this moment, Hyojin suddenly closed the notebook. Swoosh, after a few breaths, an umbu landed on the balcony outside Hyojin's window and said respectfully, "Master Hyojin, in half an hour, Naruto-sama will hold a high-level meeting in Naruto Building. Please be sure to attend on time. Okay. In the room, Hyojin responded. Sorry for the interruption. The Umbu bowed, and then immediately activated the teleportation technique and disappeared. After the black operation left, Hyojin got up and came to the mirror. As he moved his body, he muttered, Why do you suddenly want to hold a high-level meeting? For the past few days, he had been busy cultivating the Een seal and did not pay much attention to what was happening in the village. Due to this reason, he was slightly surprised by the sudden meeting of the higher-ups. However, Jishuei, Itachi, and 4 generations Mizukage Goji Yagura and Mai didn't send any urgent messages, so he didn't care too much. At this moment, Hyojin's gaze shifted to the mirror in front of him. In the mirror, the diamond-shaped mark of the Een seal between his eyebrows happened to be in the center of the caged bird incantation. The 2 marks overlapped, but there was not the slightest disharmony. After gently touching the mark between his eyebrows, Hyojin put on a my forehead protector. Not long after, Hyojin arrived at the Naruto Building's conference room. With the arrival of the senior members of Konoha one after another, it didn't take long for the high-level meeting to officially begin. Many of the high-level participants were like Hyojin. They didn't know the reason why the village held this high-level meeting, so they subconsciously looked at the 3 generations Naruto, even Jiraiya, Tsunade, and others were no exception. Cough. Looking at the puzzled eyes cast by the crowd, 3 generations Naruto didn't say much, just coughed twice. And in the 3 generations light coughs, 2 figures walked into the conference room. The high-level participants quickly turned their heads and looked, and when they recognized the identity of these 2 people, everyone showed a surprised look on their faces. Hyojin also frowned slightly. The 2 people who walked into the conference room at this moment are not bystanders, but the Hyuga clan elder and Mizuki, the teacher of the ninja school. Seeing the appearance of these 2, Suijin immediately understood that this high-level meeting was most likely directed at him. So he glanced at Hayashi, who was sitting on the side from the corner of his eyes. Hayashi lowered his head and deliberately avoided Hyojin's gaze. Interesting. The corner of his mouth raised. Hyojin smiled indifferently. At this time, Zhuan Shao-chun, sitting next to 3 generations Naruto, asked, Hyuga, what's going on? The Hyuga clan elder and Mizuki, the teacher of the ninja school, this strange combination of status and disparity appeared together in the high-level meeting. It is really puzzling. Without waiting for 3 generations to answer, the Hyuga clan elder rushed to say, Let me explain to everyone. The one who proposed to convene today's high-level meeting is our Hyuga clan, because we found something that may endanger the safety of the village, so we had to convene this meeting to discuss a solution. The words of the Hyuga clan elder, like a gravel thrown into a pond, suddenly caused a ripple in the conference room. Endanger the village? What exactly did your Hyuga clan find? Some of the high-level participants looked at the Hyuga clan elder in confusion, while others looked at the silent Hyuga clan head Hayashi with great interest. Facing the questioning of the high-level members, the Hyuga clan elder deliberately glanced at Hyojin, then smiled and said, The specifics, let Instructor Mizuki of the ninja school say it. At this time, Mizuki on the side stepped forward and glared at Hyojin with resentment, thinking, Hyojin, just you wait. Today I will let you know what the consequences of offending me are. After Hyojin signed the transfer order, Mizuki privately begged Hyojin, hoping that Hyojin would make an exception, because in his opinion, the reason why he made a fool of himself in the actual combat drill was because Hyojin arranged for him to enter the ninja school. But the transfer of Mizuki from the ninja school was originally the idea of the 3 generations. Plus, Hyojin himself doesn't want Mizuki, a mediocre person with ambition but no ability, to stay in the ninja school, so he refused Mizuki's pleading. And this matter was forgotten by Hyojin, and he didn't take it to heart at all, but Mizuki has always kept it in his heart, so he hated Hyojin. Facing the gaze of the high-level members of the village, Mizuki cleared his throat and said, I am Instructor Mizuki of the ninja school. Not long ago, I found that the headmaster of our ninja school, Hyojin-sama, was in contact with an unidentified person in the school, and from their conversation I heard sensitive words such as Orochi Marukama, gathering intelligence, and so on. Deliberately pausing for a moment, Mizuki continued, considering that Hyojin-sama is not only the headmaster of the ninja school, but also a member of the Hyuga clan. His identity is noble. So in the absence of confirming the authenticity of the facts, I informed the Hyuga clan of this news. At this time, the elder of the Zong family took over the conversation and put on a look of understanding. Although Hyojin-sama is a member of the Hyuga clan, but this matter is related to the defected Orochimaru. For the safety of the village, our Hyuga clan will never shelter any clansmen who may have committed crimes. So we, the Hyuga clan, hereby request to hold this meeting. Second update, asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Now that things have developed to this point, the Uchiha clan only needs to win over some other shinobi clans, and they will be able to openly take over the position of the Hokage. Thinking of this, the corners of Fuyue's mouth rose unconsciously, and the appearance of a villain like Shui Mu became not so hateful in his eyes. The expressions of the people in the field were seen by the elder of the clan, especially the 3 generations Naruto and Fuyue. The elder of the clan feels that he has figured out the thoughts of everyone. He knows very well that after taking the position of the headmaster of the ninja school of Hyojin, the one who is most likely to benefit from it is the Uchiha clan, who is in the limelight. But it is also because of this that he is sure that the 3 generations will not let the Uchiha clan get what they want. In addition, the accusation of Hyojin was initiated by the Hyuga clan themselves, showing their absolute loyalty to the village. So no matter what the consideration is, the 3 generations will continue to let the Hyuga clan take over the position of the headmaster of the ninja school, as he expected. At that time, he can let Hyuga of the clan replace Hyojin as the new headmaster of the ninja school. The elder of the clan, who feels that he has grasped the situation, also raised the corners of his mouth, and his eyes moved to Hyojin and said with a smile, "Hyojin, today this old man will teach you the rules of this game of power. You want to fight with our clan? Humph, you are not worthy." On the side, Shuemu smiled confidently and asked Hyojin, "Headmaster, don't you have anything to explain?" Shuemu knows very well that his one-sided accusation can't convict Hyojin, but it doesn't matter. As long as Hyojin is suspected, he must resign from the position of headmaster of the ninja school first. All the high-level officials looked at Hyojin at this moment, waiting for his explanation. Even the 3 generations Naruto was no exception. And in the face of Shuemu's aggressive questioning, the faint ridicule on the face of the elder of the clan, and the suspicious, sympathetic, and inquisitive eyes of the crowd, Hyojin just yawned lazily. Optimizing the storage efficiency of the Een seal for the whole night last night really made him a little tired, so he changed to a more comfortable position, leaned on his bench, and said casually, "You are framing me." Shuemu said, "I'm afraid that your explanation won't satisfy everyone." Hyojin said lightly, "The reason is very simple. If you really found out that I was in contact with Orochimaru's people in the ninja school, then you can't accuse me here." Shuemu smiled contemptuously. "Do you think I will be bought by you? That's ridiculous. I will not betray the village for my own selfish interests." Hyojin shook his head. "No, you misunderstood. I mean, you can't live until now." Shuemu said with some annoyance, "Hyojin, your sophistry is meaningless. I think you should honestly admit that you colluded with Orochimaru with your identity. As long as you are willing to sincerely repent, the village will definitely give you a chance to turn over a new leaf." Ignoring the clamoring Shuemu, Kuroto glanced at the elder of the Zone clan. Looking at the confident look on the elder's face, Kuroto cursed in his heart. "What an idiot! Even now you still don't understand why I'm sitting here." Although Hyojin doesn't care much about the position of the headmaster of the ninja school, as long as he doesn't want to, no one can take this position from under his, but not even Naruto. After smiling, Hyojin lazily leaned on the chair and said lightly, "I want to hear the truth." As soon as Hyojin's voice fell, a person in the room responded. Everyone looked towards the direction of the voice and found that it was not a bystander. It was Manjikyu from the Uchiha family, the current strongest person in my Uchiha Jishui. At the moment when Jishui stood up, his ink-black eyes turned scarlet like blood, and then 3 Magatama rotated rapidly in his eyes, slowly converged together, converging into the pattern of a 4-edged shuriken. Manjikyu Sharingan. For a moment, everyone in the room gasped. No one expected that Jishui would activate the Manjikyu Sharingan on the spot, just because of a casual order from Hyojin. Looking at Jishui, who had activated the Manjikyu Sharingan step by step towards him, Shuimu suddenly lost his previous arrogance. He stepped back while stammering, "No. No way. I'm asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes." Chapter 742. Such a turn of events was far beyond Shuemu's expectation. Because he was the informant, Shuemu expected that after publicly identifying Hyojin at the high-level meeting, he would only accept the village's interrogation, and with the help of the Hyuga clan, the probability of him being interrogated by the Genjutsu was almost zero. Once the new headmaster took office, he could lie and say that he was deceived by the enemy, and take the initiative to clear the suspicion of Hyojin colluding with Orochimaru, and, at the same time, clear his own trouble. At that time, Hyojin would have lost his position as the headmaster of the ninja school, and he would also have the protection of the Hyuga clan. Even if Hyojin wanted to retaliate against him, he would not be able to do so. Shuemu originally had a good plan, but he never thought that Uchiha Jishui would suddenly appear out of nowhere. Shuemu couldn't believe that the vice headmaster Uchiha Jishui, who obviously had a lot to gain from this matter, would choose to support Hyojin, and even support Hyojin in such a reckless way. "Ew, don't come over." Shuemu, whose legs were a little weak, shouted while hiding behind the elder. As soon as he saw the 4-blade shuriken pattern in Jishui's eye sockets, all the courage in his heart immediately disappeared, and he really couldn't muster the courage to face the kaleidoscope Uchiha. Feeling the killing intent coming from Shursue's body, a thin layer of sweat appeared on the forehead of the elder of the Zone clan, and he said in a threatening manner, "Uchiha Shursue, what do you want to do? This is the high-level meeting of the village. Do you want to start a fight here?" Jishui did not waver, and continued to move forward. The elder, who was swallowing his saliva, began to subconsciously take a few steps back. At this moment, the elder of the ancestral family, who had always lived like a prince, deeply experienced how much courage it took to face the kaleidoscope of the Uchiha family. In his own clan's land, he could slander Uchiha as much as he wanted, but after facing him face to face, he realized that just looking at Uchiha's kaleidoscope was enough to make him feel immense pressure. Under this heavy pressure, he even felt like he couldn't breathe. In the end, his body reacted wisely and obediently moved to the side, giving way to Shuemu. The senior members of Konoha were also looking at each other at this time. Although Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Asuma had mentioned the influence of Hyojin on Jishui, but Jishui's violent reaction still shocked the 3 generations Naruto. He didn't expect that Jishui, who had always been gentle and different from other Uchiha families, would make such a reckless move. Tsunade and Jiraiya both had a gloomy face. They were not as surprised by Jishui's move as the others, but they were very unhappy. After all, this was the high-level meeting of the village, and Jishui activated the Manjikyu Sharingan here, which was undoubtedly a show of force. Fuyue was stunned in his seat. He couldn't understand Jishui's move at the moment, and he didn't expect that Jishui would make a decision without consulting him, the patriarch of Uchiha. Hayashi, who was sitting opposite to Fuyue, also changed his previous silence and looked at Jishui in shock. In today's high-level meeting, he had considered many unexpected situations in advance, even the possibility of Hyojin taking action on the spot, but he didn't expect this scene to happen. For him, the scene in front of him was too absurd. The dignified Manjikyu of Uchiha family, the strongest person in Mai, actually activated the Manjikyu Sharingan without hesitation because of Hyojin's casual order. As for other high-level members, such as Consultant Elder Zhuan Xiao Chun, Jonin Class Leader Narashikaku, Intelligence Class Leader Kaichi Yamanaka, Support Class Leader Choizo Akido, and other high-level members were surprised and afraid. They naturally noticed the look of help cast by the Hyuga Elder, but at the same time, they also sensed the strong chakra fluctuations coming from Jishui. Jishui is serious. In an instant, the same thought flashed in their hearts at the same time. For the internal struggle of the Hyuga clan, facing an Uchiha who has activated the Manjikyu Sharingan, no matter how they look at it, this deal is not worthwhile. Not to mention them, even the Black Ops team in the conference room was hesitant at this moment, and their minds were in a mess. Their duty is to maintain the normal order of the meeting, and it stands to reason that Jishui's behavior of suddenly activating the Manjikyu Sharingan in the conference room should be stopped by them. But the Uchiha clan is famous for its arrogance, and the other party is the Manjikyu of Uchiha family, the strongest person in the village. If they really fight, the situation is likely to be out of control in an instant. Plus, the 3 generations Naruto just looked surprised but didn't give any instructions, so they chose to turn a blind eye. So, for a time in the entire conference room, only the sound of Jishui's footsteps and Shuei Mu's stuttering begging for mercy. This is a misunderstanding. Don't come over. Don't come over. At this moment, the 4-blade shuriken pattern in Jishui's eye sockets slowly rotated. And at the moment when Jishui activated the Jinjutsu, Shuei Mu fell into the Jinjutsu without any resistance. His begging for mercy stopped abruptly, and his twisted and frightened expression gradually returned to normal. Leaning on the chair, Hyojin asked casually, "Why did you frame me?" Shuei Mu, who had fallen into the Jinjutsu, replied with a blank face, "Because you wanted to kick me out of the ninja school, so I wanted to take revenge on you." As he spoke, Shuei Mu told the story of how he hated Hyojin, privately contacted the Hyojin family elder, and conspired with the Hyojin family elder to frame Hyojin. Listening to Shuei Mu's confession, the Hyojin family elder's face turned livid, and he shouted hysterically, "He's talking nonsense. He lied to me, I didn't know." Hayashi lowered his head. At the thought of the Hyojin family's ugly behavior being directly displayed in front of all the senior members of the village, he was so ashamed that he wanted to crawl into a hole in the ground and hide. Ignoring the shouting Hyojin family elder, Hyojin continued to ask casually, "Why did you think of using the excuse of colluding with Orochimaru to frame me?" Shuei Mu answered without hesitation, "Because Lord Orochimaru once mentioned you to me. He said that you were a very troublesome guy, and he told me to be careful when dealing with you." After listening to Shuei Mu's confession, everyone in the conference room was shocked. From this confession, it was not difficult to tell that Shuei Mu was the real traitor who colluded with Orochimaru. The Hyojin family elder also looked at Shuei Mu in disbelief. "You idiot, you're actually Orochimaru's spy?" I'm asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 743. In the face of the elder's questioning, Shuei Mu, who was trapped in the illusion, didn't pause at all, and quickly confessed how he was selected by Orochimaru, how he made the deal with Orochimaru, and everything else. Listening to Shuei Mu's confession, the faces of the senior members of the Hyuga clan all became gloomy. They thought that this was just an internal power struggle of the Hyuga clan, but they didn't expect that the development of things was completely beyond their expectations, and it actually involved the traitor Orochimaru. One must know that although Orochimaru has not yet carried out the My Destruction plan, he still carries the crimes of betrayal, joining the Akatsuki and kidnapping the Nine Tails' Jinchuriki and the eldest daughter of the Hyuga clan. Therefore, having a relationship with Orochimaru is undoubtedly a felony. The elder on the side unconsciously opened his mouth at this time, and his face was full of disbelief. Looking at Shuei Mu calmly confessing all kinds of rebellious acts that could take his life, the elder felt a deep fear and absurdity. The elder thought that he was the one who manipulated the whole thing, that he was the one who took advantage of Shuei Mu's ambition and the rules of the village. But he didn't expect that he was the one who was taken advantage of, and he was taken advantage of by Shuemu, who he thought was extremely stupid and incomparably lowly. At the same time, the elder broke out in a cold sweat. From this moment on, the nature of the matter has changed, and it is beyond his control and even beyond the control of the Hyuga clan. Because the crime of falsely accusing a superior is enough to sentence Shuemu to death. If the crime of colluding with Orochimaru is counted, then Shuemu will die without a doubt. And the elder who colluded with Shuemu to facilitate this matter naturally can't escape responsibility. At this moment, Hyojin asked, "What is the crime of falsely accusing a superior?" The elder's heart skipped a beat. "What is the crime of falsely accusing a superior?" Jishuei replied tacitly, "The highest sentence is capital punishment." Hyojin asked again, "What is the crime of colluding with a traitorous ninja and intending to destroy the important institutions of the village?" Jishuei answered straightforwardly, "Capital punishment." "Is that so?" After a pause, Hyojin glanced at the higher-ups present and said lightly, "Then let's do it." Shursui nodded, then turned around and returned to his seat. At the same time, Shuemu, who had fallen into the illusion, walked out of the meeting room stiffly like a machine. Not long after, a guard of the Naruto building rushed into the conference room and reported to the Three Generations Naruto, "Naruto-sama, bad news. Instructor Shuemu committed suicide outside the Naruto building." The Three Generations looked at Jishuei, then at Hyojin. They sighed and waved their hands at the guards. "Got it. Inform the hospital to collect the body." Today's farce against Hyojin had developed to this point. Even the Three Generations could only pinch their noses and let Hyojin vent his anger. Yes, sir." The guard was stunned for a moment, then bowed and left the conference room. And with the report of the guard, the atmosphere in the conference room suddenly became strange, and all the high-level officials who attended the meeting looked at Kuroto at this moment. With Shuemu's crime, it was not a problem for him to be sentenced to capital punishment. However, it was not up to Hyojin, the headmaster of the ninja school, to make the decision. Therefore, at this time, the higher-ups felt offended. However, Hyojin's calmness and Jishuei's uncharacteristic coldness made everyone present not want to stand out. "It seems like we have to reevaluate this Hyojin." For a moment, this thought flashed through the minds of many higher-ups. After this incident, they realized that they seemed to have underestimated Hyojin's power. As for Shuemu's execution, the one who was the most frightened was the elder of the Zong family. At this time, he was sweating profusely. The reason why he had a psychological advantage over Hyojin in the past was because he was a caged bird. Now that he found out that Hyojin did not need to do anything himself, he just needed to casually give an order, and the Uchiha family's kaleidoscope would immediately execute it. The psychological advantage that he had from his own family had instantly disappeared. Hayashi, who was at the side, also looked nervous at this moment. He did not expect that in the entire conference room, no one in the entire conference room would reprimand Hyojin for obviously overstepping his authority just now. Even the Three Generations Naruto seemed to tacitly agree. This made him feel extremely pressured. If Hyojin continued to fight against the elder of the Zong family at this time, he did not even know how to deal with it. After intentionally ignoring the elder of the Zong family for a while, Hyojin then said, "Is there anything else that needs to be discussed in today's meeting?" Seeing that Hyojin had stopped before going too far, the Three Generations Naruto heaved a sigh of relief and immediately said, "Today's meeting will end here." Meeting dismissed. Hyojin did not say anything more. He stood up and bowed to the Three Generations Naruto before leaving the conference room. The reason why he let the elder of the Zong family off today was not because he was soft-hearted, nor was it because he had misgivings about anyone. It was because he had other plans, and the best part was yet to come. Jishuei originally wanted to leave with Hyojin, but just as she stood up, she was stopped by Fuyue, who was beside her. Fuyue had a solemn expression on his face. "I have something to say to you." Jishuei could only nod her head. Chapter 744. The cause of Mizuki's death was eventually determined by the village to be a sudden illness, and the reason for doing so was to cover up this almost farcical accusation against Hyojin. After all, if this farce is publicized, not only will the prestige of the village be swept away, but the Hyuga clan will also become a laughingstock. And at the behest of 3 generations Naruto, the high-level members of the Hyuga clan chose to remain silent afterwards, as if this high-level meeting did not exist. But no matter how the village suppressed it, the impact of this absurd farce still slowly fermented in the hearts of the high-level members. After this incident, many of the high-level members of the village clearly realized that Hyojin is by no means an ordinary jonin, and the attitude of an ordinary noble child toward Hyojin has also quietly changed. And the Hyuga clan, which single-handedly promoted this farce, naturally became a lot more honest, and several elders of the Hyuga clan didn't even leave the Hyuga clan's mansion. This time's matter can be said to have made the Hyuga clan lose face. Fortunately, the village blocked the news in time, otherwise the Hyuga clan would inevitably become a joke among the villagers. For these, as the person involved, Hyojin didn't pay too much attention to them. Without external interference, he quickly devoted all his energy to the optimization of Ein Seal and the practice of Hashiman Hidden Gates. As he expected, the combination of Ein Seal and Hashiman Hidden Gates is indeed very effective. Every morning, he would first extract all the chakra in his body and store it in the Ein Seal area, causing his body and spirit to fall into extreme fatigue. Then he would practice Hashiman Hidden Gates with his exhausted body. The essence of Hashiman Hidden Gates is to break through the limits of the body step by step through continuous practice. So practicing Hashiman Hidden Gates in the extreme state can at least increase the efficiency of practice by 50%. In other words, Hyojin practicing in this way for 1 day is equivalent to him practicing in the normal way for 1.5 days. As for the price, it is only the wear and tear of the body, and with the strength of his own body, as long as he doesn't accumulate these wear and tear for a long time, it won't hurt the foundation of his body. For this reason, Hyojin specially made a cultivation schedule. Of the 7 days in a week, the first 4 days were used to practice the 8 inner hidden gates. As for the remaining 3 days, the Ein Escape True Self was placed in a large nutrient tank, using the nutrient solution to make up for his losses so that they wouldn't accumulate. During the 3 days that 246 was free, his spirit body did not stay idle either. Instead, he continued to develop the Earth Escape clone that had yet to be fully developed while his Ein Escape body was repairing itself in the large nutrition tank. Walala, the sea breeze swept up the waves and slapped them on the beach, stirring up a spray. Under the bright sun, the spray reflected a colorful rainbow. Standing on the beach, Hyojin was controlling his Earth Escape clone. At this moment, he was holding his breath and concentrating on controlling the fusion of the earth, fire, and wind chakra attributes in his body. Time passed by in a flash. It had been a full 2 weeks since the farce last time. In these 2 weeks, Hyojin handed over other matters to Jisue, Itachi, Goji Yagura, and the others, while he wholeheartedly practiced the 8 inner hidden gates and developed the Earth Escape clone. Due to the improvement of the cloning technology, Hyojin's Earth Escape clone had a very high affinity with the Earth Element chakra. He didn't have to spend much effort to learn the Explosion Escape. Therefore, just mastering the Explosion Escape bloodline was not enough to develop this Earth Escape clone to the same degree as the previous Water Escape clone, Fire Escape clone, and Wind Escape clone. Therefore, Hyojin had to master the Dust Escape that he had already touched the threshold of before he could complete the final development of this Earth Escape clone. However, touching the threshold of the Dust Escape doesn't mean that he had learned it. These days, Hyojin tried many times, but he couldn't steadily use the Dust Escape. After summing up the reason, he found that the problem still lies in the fusion of the chakra attributes. So today, he didn't release the Dust Escape randomly like before. Instead, he carefully explored the most reasonable fusion ratio of the earth, fire, and wind chakra. After a long time, Hyojin sat on the beach and gasped for breath. His previous attempt failed again. He couldn't grasp the fusion ratio of the earth, fire, and wind chakra, which led to the inability to create a stable and controllable dust escape chakra. It would be great if I could ask the 3 generations of Tenseigan. The best fusion ratio of the earth, fire, and wind chakra is not unknown in the shinobi world. The 3 generations of Tenseigan and Noki who mastered the dust escape is one of the people who knows about it. But after little thought, Hyojin put this idea to the back of his mind because the process of exploring the best fusion ratio is actually to develop the Earth Escape clone. Hyojin's ultimate goal is not to learn the dust escape, but to develop the Earth Escape clone by learning the dust escape, so that the Earth Escape clone and the spirit body can be perfectly compatible. During the rest, Hyojin glanced at the cliff not far away. The cliffs by the sea had traces of being ravaged by the dust escape. Looking from afar, the cliffs seemed to have been cut by a sharp knife that was tens of meters long. All kinds of cuts were smooth and neat, and the angles were tricky. Some of the special stone cuts were so smooth that they could reflect the sunlight from the top of their heads. Looking at the cliff, Hyojin grinned. The smooth fractures on the cliff are undoubtedly the traces left by his practice of dust escape these days. Although he can't create a stable and controllable dust escape chakra, but if it's just a momentary burst of power, he can barely do it. This coast is located in the east of the Land of Fire, across the sea from the Land of Whirlpools. It belongs to the intersection of the 3 forces of Mai, Cloud, and Mist. In several shinobi wars, this area was one of the main battlefields, and it was very chaotic. Therefore, after the destruction of the Land of Whirlpools, there were no more villages in the vicinity, and there were no signs of human life within 100 miles. Therefore, Hyojin deliberately chose this place to develop the Earth Escape clone. My village, Hyuga Family Mansion. Hayashi slowly put down the letter in his hand and asked the elders in front of him, "What do you think about this matter?" The letter in Hayashi's hand was written by Otsutsuki Samurai. In the letter, he briefly described his identity, and then proposed a private appointment with the current patriarch of the Hyuga clan. In the face of Hayashi's inquiry, the elders of the Hyuga clan were silent. The Hyuga clan is not completely ignorant about the distant relatives on the moon. The ancestors only erased the records about the giant Tenseigan, but the Hyuga clan still has some vague information about the distant relatives on the moon. But the 2 sides have not been in contact for hundreds of years, and the other party suddenly sent a letter. It really makes the Hyuga clan a little confused. Second, I'm asking for recommendation votes, monthly votes. Chapter 745. One of the elders pondered for a moment and said, "Maybe we can go and meet them. After all, everyone has the same Bikugan. There is no harm in meeting them." And the ancestral clan elder didn't finish his sentence, but his meaning was extremely clear. Today's Hyuga clan is at a disadvantage in the competition with the Uchiha clan, and recently there was the scandal of Shuimu. It can be said that their reputation in the village has plummeted, and they urgently need a strong foreign aid to restore their reputation. And the Otsutsuki clan on the moon is undoubtedly the best foreign aid candidate. The other party has the same bloodline as the Hyuga clan, and their strength is much stronger than the Hyuga clan. If they have their support, then the situation of the Hyuga clan will immediately improve. At this time, another elder frowned and said, "We haven't even figured out the other party's intentions. Isn't it too risky to meet them in a hurry? Although they are of the same origin, the 2 sides have not been in contact for hundreds of years, so there is no kinship between them at all. In addition, the current Hyuga clan has little understanding of the distant relatives on the moon. They can't guess the other party's intention to meet with Patriarch Hayashi, nor can they judge whether the other party is good or evil this time." The 2 elders expressed their opinions one after another, and it can be said that the pros and cons of going or not going are laid out in the open. Hayashi thought for a long time and finally made up his mind. "I decided to go as scheduled." At the previous high-level meeting, he and the elder of the clan were frightened by Uchiha Jishue, which made Hayashi, the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, unable to get over it. So after weighing the pros and cons, he decided to meet the other party and see what the other party wants to do, because the Hyuga clan really needs the support of the distant relatives on the moon. At this time, the elder of the clan who was disgraced because of the Shuemu incident immediately objected. No, you can't go. You know the situation in the clan now. If anything happens to you, our Hyuga clan will immediately fall into eternal damnation. So even if we send someone, you can't go in person. Puzzled, Hayashi said, but the other party clearly stated in the letter that he wants to meet the current patriarch. If I don't go there personally, it might arouse the other party's suspicion and cause unnecessary misunderstandings. The elder from the ancestral clan didn't seem to mind at all. Don't we still have Richa? What? Hayashi was startled and immediately shook his head. How can I do that? Elder Zong smiled. Hizashi-sama and you are blood brothers. Other than the people of the Hyuga clan, outsiders will not be able to distinguish them. So having him replace you is the safest choice at present. Hayashi still refused to give in. This is very dangerous. So even if he puts aside his personal grievances, he will not agree with Hyojin's participation in this matter. Richa also didn't expect the Zone clan elder's reaction to be so intense, and quickly explained, Zone clan elder, I don't mean that. I just consider that Kuroto is the most experienced jonin in the family. Let him participate. Maybe he can provide us with a lot of help. The Zone clan elder also realized that he had lost his composure and snorted coldly. This is the top secret of the family. Unrelated people have no right to know, let alone the right to participate. Seeing that the Zone clan elder didn't even think about it and refused, and Hayashi in the main seat did not say anything, Richa had to reply, I understand. The Zone clan elder then said, Richa, I must remind you that this matter is likely to be related to the future of our Hyuga clan. It is the top secret of the family, so you must not leak it to anyone, understand? Richa nodded, yes. The Zone clan elder waved his hand. You go and prepare. Richa took one last look at his brother Hayashi and said with a smile, Don't worry, brother, I will get things done. After that, without waiting for Hayashi to answer, Richa got up and left the study. I'm asking for recommendation votes and monthly votes. Chapter 746. Inside the root base. The corners of Dedale's mouth curled into a smile as he strode through the dark passage. The current 5 Kage conference has reached an impasse. After several meetings, the 5 Kage were unable to discuss an effective way to deal with Akatsuki, so Dedale, as the guard of the 3 generations Tsuchikage, had to stay in the Dark Palace. With Dedale's nature, naturally, he couldn't hold back in the palace, so after a long time of coaxing and pestering, he finally persuaded his teacher, the 3 generations Tsuchikage, to allow him to move freely in my village. Looking at the sunlight at the exit of the passage, Dedale was happy. Finally, I can see the sunlight. Immediately afterward, Dedale found 2 figures dressed as my ninjas standing at the exit, and his face immediately sank. The 2 people guarding the door were none other than Kurenai and Asma. Kurenai applied to be transferred from the Umbu to protect Dedale, while Asma listened to the guidance of Gale. In order to get closer to Kurenai, he followed Kurenai and applied to be transferred. After arriving in front of Dedale, Red politely said, I'm Sunset. We've met before in the country of hot water. This one next to me is Asuma. We'll be your tour guides. Where do you want to go? We can take you there. Dedale looked at Kurenai and Asma and then curled his lips. Really troublesome. Kurenai didn't care about Dedale's attitude and said sincerely, Thank you for the last time. Huh. Dedale was a bit confused. Seeing Dedale like this, Kurenai smiled. Don't worry. We won't ask you about Amitsukami. I just want to thank you. If you didn't save us last time, Gale, and I might have died. Dedale reacted and said, Hey, I already told you. I'm not Ksitagarba, and I didn't join Amitsukami. Kurenai smiled and nodded. I understand. What do you know? Dedale curled his lips and complained. Humph, if I meet someone from Amitsukami, I will definitely make them look good. Dead felt that ever since he got involved with Amatsukomi, his life became gloomy, and because of this misunderstanding, the entire rock village was destroyed by Akatsuki, which made him so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Seeing Deadale's flustered and exasperated appearance, Asuma moved closer to Red and whispered, "Is he really someone from God's organization?" Kurenai said with certainty, "Yes." According to the analysis of the village's intelligence team, the probability of Deadale being God's organization's Xidagarba was as high as 95%. Therefore, apart from Rock Village's denial, the other villages had basically tacitly accepted the fact that Deadale was God's organization's Xidagarba. In the 5 Kage meeting, Lang also repeatedly proposed to let Deadale establish a connection with Amatsukomi. At this time, Deadale took out a small lump of explosive clay from the ninja bag on his waist and muttered, "Where should I go first?" At this time, Deadale took out a small ball of explosive clay from the ninja bag on his waist and muttered, "Where should I go first?" Bang, accompanied by a burst of white smoke. A lifelike explosive bird appeared in front of them. Deadale jumped onto the back of the detonator bird and then said to Red and Asuma, "Haha, if you can keep up with me, then you'll be qualified to be my tour guide." Seeing that Deadale was about to fly away, Kurenai immediately took out a small explosive bird from the ninja bag. "Do you remember this?" Deadale glanced at it and immediately frowned. He appeared in front of Kurenai and grabbed the explosive bird from her hand and asked, "Where did you get this?" Kurenai replied, "You gave it to us last time in the land of hot water." Obviously, the clay bird in Kurenai's hand is the one that Hyojin gave them to transport the wounded back to the village. Because the chakra was exhausted, it shrank to its original appearance. After playing with it for a while, Deadale sneered and said, "TCH, fake." In terms of the properties of the explosive clay, Deadale found that this explosive bird was comparable to his, but in terms of the artistry of shaping, he was dismissive of this explosive bird. After saying that, Deadale poured some explosion chakra into Hyojin's explosive bird. Bang! There was another burst of white smoke as Hyojin's explosive bird was activated and became bigger. After indicating to Kurenai and Asuma to sit on Hyojin's explosive bird, Deadale's figure flashed and returned to his own explosive bird. Then, the 2 explosive birds flew into the air one after the other. At this time, Deadale curiously said, "Hey, haven't you seen Xidagarba? Then tell me about Xidagarba. What kind of person is that bastard?" At night, after returning home, Richa began to prepare for the appointment. In recent years, although he hasn't relaxed the practice of soft fist, he has rarely participated in actual combat because he has been engaged in the daily management of the family for a long time. For a ninja, long-term neglect of actual combat is actually a great hidden danger. Richa is very clear about this, so the first thing he did after returning home was to go to the ninja room. He picked some handy ninja tools inside and then walked toward the practice room. Suddenly, a voice behind him stopped Richa. "Father, what are you doing?" Richa turned around and said, "It's Ningxi." Ningxi saluted Richa, and then his eyes stared straight at the bulging ninja bag on Richa's waist. In Ningxi's impression, his father hasn't carried a ninja bag for a long time. Even if he practiced in the practice room, it was just pure physical training. Perceiving Ningxi's gaze, Richa explained, "I have to perform a very important task tomorrow, so I need to practice." "Oh." After responding, Ningxi seemed to think of something and excitedly said, "Father, the school will hold the monthly assessment the day after tomorrow." Chapter 747. Before dawn the next day, Richa quietly left the village with 2 senior chunin. Because this meeting is regarded as the top secret of the Hyuga clan, so the place where the 2 sides agreed to meet was not near the village, but in a deep mountain far east of the village. Hisashi-sama turned around and looked behind him. He knew very well that behind them, there's an elite team of the Hyuga clan far behind them. The existence of that team is to pass the news to the Hyuga clan in time after the accident happens, so that Richa and the other two would not be caught by the enemy and cause the news to be cut off. And from this arrangement, it can be seen that the Hyuga clan is actually not confident about this meeting with the Otsutsuki on the moon. After a whole day of rushing at full speed, at dusk, Richa and the other two finally arrived at the meeting place. Coming to the foot of the mountain, one of the Hyuga clan's Chunin asked, "Richa, Sama, is it here?" Looking at the mountain in front of him, Ri nodded, and without taking a break, he immediately ordered, "Everyone, please continue to work hard and check the surroundings first." The two Hyuga clan's Chunin nodded in unison, and their figures flashed and flew in different directions. Hizashi, on the other hand, leapt straight towards the top of the mountain, investigating the terrain, eliminating traps, confirming the safety of the meeting place, and preparing an escape route in case of an accident. These are all qualities that a qualified ninja needs to have. Not long after, Richa came to a cliff on the top of the mountain and looked around. This mountain is located in the east of the Land of Fire, not too far from the sea further east. If the weather is clear, standing on the top of the mountain, you can even vaguely see the sea in the distance. In addition to the wide field of vision, there are no villages nearby, and there are no my outposts and patrols, so it is an excellent place for a secret meeting. Whoosh, after a while, the two Hyuga ninjas returned to Richa's side and reported, "Richa, Sama, there is no abnormality in the vicinity." The Byakugan was originally a Kekkei Genkai that was best at reconnaissance. As long as they stood at a high place and swept their vision, they would be able to see the surroundings at a glance. Therefore, the two Hyuga Chunin quickly confirmed that the other party did not do anything to the rendezvous point. Richa heaved a sigh of relief. Very good. He felt that something was wrong with this meeting with his distant relatives on the moon. Because this is a bit abnormal, the two sides have clearly not been in contact for hundreds of years. It stands to reason that even if they want to re-establish a relationship, the other party should visit the Hyuga clan openly and not in such a sneaky way. Time passed by bit by bit. Chapter 748. My Village. The early morning sun had not had time to cut through the heavy night. Only a soft white light appeared on the distant horizon. Facing this not bright white light, Ningxi, who was neatly dressed, stepped out of the Hyuga clan's land in high spirits and trotted all the way to the playground of the ninja school. Today was the monthly ninja school assessment again. He mustered up his energy and wanted to defeat all his peers in today's assessment to prove the Hyuga clan's taijutsu. As soon as he stepped through the gate of the ninja school, Ningxi found a black shadow warming up under the big tree by the door. When he got closer, he found that the black shadow warming up was Sasuke. So he said, "Hey, so early?" Sasuke looked at the playground in the distance and said, "That guy is earlier than me." Ningxi looked over and found a figure running laps on the playground, and it seemed that he had been running for a while. When he took a closer look, the figure was none other than Xiaoli, who did not know any ninjutsu. "Li Luaka," Ningxi whispered softly. Obviously, he was not the only one who was diligent. Whether it was the talented Sasuke or the mediocre Xiaoli, they were all using hard work to implement their own ninjutsu. At this time, Sasuke moved his gaze to Naruto Rock in the distance and said with a solemn expression, "I heard that idiot Naruto stayed up there all night." Ningxi followed Sasuke's gaze and found a black shadow on the head of 4 generations Naruto Rock. So he activated Byakugan and confirmed that the black shadow was Naruto, who was sitting cross-legged. So he asked, "He is absorbing natural energy?" Although Ningxi gained nothing from the previous trip to Mount Mayaboku, because he had tried to practice immortal arts, he quickly understood the purpose of Naruto sitting on Naruto Rock for a night. Nodding his head, Sasuke said coolly, "I hope I can witness the Dragon Pit Cave's celestial art in today's test." After saying that, Sasuke glanced at Ningxi again. "By the way, how are your preparations going? I recently learned a new move. I hope you won't disappoint me today. Otherwise, this month's assessment won't be challenging at all." Ningxi said, I'm afraid you're going to taste defeat today. Defeated? With a smile, Sasuke said firmly, I'm sorry, but my father and brother will be here to observe the assessment today. So, I will not lose, and I will not lose. Ningxi said coldly, what a coincidence, my father will also come. So I won't lose. The two children could not allow themselves to fail in front of their father, so they immediately began to compete. Oomph. After snorting at the same time, the two children began their own morning exercises. Boom, boom, boom. Continuous explosions spread from the forest all the way to the coast. The violent roar and the skyrocketing fire frightened the birds in the forest to flee in all directions.